Welcome back to The Watch, and it is another ALLSTREAM, but it is a special ALLSTREAM, this one, because we are talking about AI art, like seriously, and how it might affect comic book industries. I'm a comic book developer now, and other things. That's what we talk about here on the ALLSTREAM, a lot of things, but new media is a big one, and so how AI art will affect that is an important topic. And so we have organized this to try and get some very professional and experienced comic book artists to join us in the discussion, who hopefully will be able to jump in a bit later. But also on the topic of AI art, we are joined by an old friend as well. It's Oz! Oz, how are you, mate?
I'm great. I'm appearing from an AI-generated location in Skynet's main hub.
So Oz is doing his own channel, Team Oz, okay? And so do subscribe to Team Oz, everyone, if you want to see his content there. You've been talking about AI art a bit on that channel.
Yeah, the other day, I streamed for 16 hours straight playing Halo.
I saw that. I went to sleep and then I woke up and you're still bloody streaming it.
Every 5 minutes, someone came on and said, "Are you still going?" Yes. I was finishing all 3 games.
And so Oz is joining us as part of his own. So he's not on Night's Watch anymore, but you see, Team Oz is joining from his own YouTube channel, and hopefully we'll be able to see Oz on occasion coming back. We want to do some things in the future, like Wheel of Time and other things, and this is a topic that is really, I guess, appropriate because Oz has been going crazy into AI. In fact, Oz has taught me everything I know about AI art, and we've been going back and forth, sharing what we've been making and everything. So he's a bit of our AI expert consultant on this stream.
And even I'm, out of, I don't know as much as what the leaders are doing, but I'm following their, what they're doing.
You've gone down the rabbit hole very far, deeper than me, and he knows more about the AI stuff, the discussion around it, and so it's great to have Oz join us for this stream. We are, of course, joined by the incredible and talented Mike S. Miller. How are you, mate?
Bonjour, mon ami. Comment allez-vous? Suddenly, I'm
French now. French.
No, how you doing? We're just killing it over here. So working on Shadow the Conqueror Volume 2. We've got, I know last week I said I was on page 9, but I had to go back and re-ink pages 1 through 8. So I'm what am I on, page 7 or 8? But page 9's already done. So we're making progress. Next week I should have, maybe I can even show some of it while we're doing this tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that'd be a good thing to do regularly. Just kind of keep everybody.
Yeah. Oh, that definitely. People can join the streams, and we'll give updates on what we're working on. I want to give updates on what I'm working on in regards to All-Star and also my comic book universe, because I don't know if I'll have enough money to full on throw that into production, but I have been producing concept work for my superheroes with AI, and I'll be able to show some of those at the moment. And holy crap, is it looking like amazing. I'm genuinely excited about some of these concepts I've been able to make, not just because AI art has really helped out in that, but it's also helped me visualize these superheroes in a really cool way that I can pass on to the artist and get feedback when I'm going to develop it even further. But it's helped me, I guess, dive into the universe. I'll be developing characters more. And so, yeah, we'll be giving updates around that as well. And we're also joined by Nathan. How are you there, mate?
I'm good. I have a camera now. I'm not just behind the scenes. Yeah. I've also played AI art, and I think there's a discussion to have with games as well. I think it is very far behind compared to comic books and concept art. So there's a little bit there I want to chime in with that as well. Because I've played with it.
Yeah. It is a heck of a lot of fun. So there's going to be kind of 2 parts to the stream, but we're going to be jumping back and forth from what those parts are. And one is going to be a discussion about AI, and the other is playing with the actual AI on stream to show you what we might be able to do, see if AI art can do good coloring for pre-existing hand-drawn art, as well as examples of what we've already done. And we have some other artists that are going to be joining us a bit later. So we're going to save the kind of discussion of the AI art subject in terms of all the things from copyright problems to will it replace artists in the future? Is it a threat? But what I'm more excited about is actually how it can help artists and comic book development, everything like that, and talking about the benefits. And so that's all on the books to discuss today.
On the docket.
On the docket. And so,
by the way, I need to send you some flats. So flats, when you're doing comic colors, it's like when you just pick out each separate area of color. And I'm wondering if you could use the flats to actually do. So let me send you some of those.
Yeah, do that.
I didn't even think about it beforehand.
Well, that's why I pre-made a flat just in case.
Oh, you did?
So it's a single flat, and it might be tricky or interesting to make. So I will bring this up. I'll share it. There we go. So this is so flats are just cell color,
right, but the flats would be without the inks.
Would it?
Layer? Yeah.
I can make it. I can. I'll need to open Photoshop and download the file because it's on another computer, but it's on my cloud. Okay, because I thought what do you think? Would the AI produce a better job with the lines or without? I thought it would produce a better job with the lines.
Yeah, with the lines, definitely. It needs something to like latch onto.
Okay, but here's the thing with, then you'd have to overlay the line work back over it again.
Yes.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
All right. I don't think it's going to turn out perfect, but I think if it could turn out to the point where it does like 80% of the work, then just going in and cleaning up could be freaking game changing for coloring.
Yeah. It'll be really interesting. And why don't we just start out with that? Because this is one of the questions we've had is, actually, I'll show you some examples of what I've already done. And then that led into, okay, what could it do if it could do colors? Because the examples that I've generated have had some really good colors on them. And so let me
We've got a guest waiting as well. Do you want me to add them in?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, wait, he might not be ready. It's just Mike. Who's this wonderful guest joining?
This is a comic book artist legend extraordinaire, David Williams. He actually started working in comics before I did, and he's been on just about every bloody character you can think of. But yeah, David Williams. If he can stop pinwheeling for a moment, could I guess not. Anyways, hey, he's there.
Okay, all right, Dave, can you hear us?
David,
there's a lot of lag.
Well, he is on the moon.
Okay, well, hopefully Dave will be able to load in. And
can you hear me?
Yes. There he is. There's his head.
Could be
I'm leaving and coming back in.
Well, it suddenly cleared up. You were actually far more smooth, but hopefully it'll work out. All right. So I'll show you some of the examples of what I've already put together. So screen share. It'd be nice if I could just jump from one screen to another instead of having to go out and then go back in. So what I've been using AI art for is converting my pre-existing images. And so this is my own image concept of one of my superheroes. She's called Warrior Woman. And putting it through the AI, this was the result of the conversion. And damn, yeah.
Very nice.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Like, that is crazy. Blew me away. But this isn't the only example.
And again, I just constantly focus on the coloring. The coloring is better than most professional comic book colorists, which drives me nuts.
Now, comic book colorists can be a bit tricky to work with, you've explained, because finding someone who can get the work in on time has been an issue for you, Mike.
Yeah.
And finding someone who can do good quality work is also an issue.
Yeah. And it's really funny because also you have to match certain colorists to certain line work, right? It's like not every colorist does. Like for me, I can see a colorist and I look at them on somebody else and I think, oh wow, that's fantastic. And then they I have them do something for me and I'm like, Because to me, it's not just the color sense that's important. It is very important, obviously, color theory and all that stuff. But the modeling is primary to me. I want artists, and that's a hard thing because most colorists probably color because they can't pencil. Because if you want to be an artist in the comic book world, you want to be a penciler, right? And then if you can't pencil, you'll be an inker, and then you'll be a colorist. But if you know form and structure and shape and tone and all of that stuff, and you chose that skill set to color, that's like those are few and far between, and you want those people to color everything. But
so you have trouble working with these guys? These guys who aren't good enough to be pencilers, not good enough to be inkers.
I don't know what your point is, Oz.
Well, hang on though. This is the thing. Some of the best colorists I've found online usually are incredible artists, and they color their own work. And so Mike has a really interesting point about that. Yeah, like to be one of the top tier colorists that you can find, you need to know composition and depth and all those things to try and to just make the colors just really, really pop. Because if you can color that great, usually you can also draw really, really well. And so this is just one example, right? This is the other one that I was really happy. Well, I got several. And so this is Superhero. This was my original drawing I started out with. And this was the AI conversion. And once again,
still, the face of the guy on the left still gets me every time.
In what way? In what way?
It's like he went from like pudgy, golden retriever eyes, and now he's like just as staunch and just as chiseled as the guy on the right.
Oh, yeah, okay. You mean from this face to that face?
Yeah.
I had interesting. There's a story behind each one of these images' development. But we're all joined by Aaron. How are you, sir?
Late as usual, but thank you for having me on. If I can get my time straight, we'll.
He thought it was 4 o'clock. We had that problem last week, Aaron.
Yeah, I know, but it takes it a while for it to sink in. Are we talking about AI again?
Yes.
Oh yeah, this whole stream is dedicated to.
Okay,
to
all
AI.
right.
We want to get into not only the meat of the discussion about potential copyright and will it replace, but also what it can do for artists, as well as experimenting to see what we can actually make if we can color something, and also actually show how the process works a bit. So it's all going to be fun, and I'm just showing some examples, a bit more in detail than what I went into last stream.
Okay.
And
Shad,
then
Yeah, no. We're gonna do the schedule thing, but Dragon Drakeage dropped $50. Can we attend some? Like, someone gonna drop that much money? Maybe we could read the super chat.
Absolutely. So Dragon Drakeage for $50, dude. Wow, thank you. Says this seems to be an interesting conundrum. The pros and cons of AI art. Also, Shad would love to hear you review 2003 Hulk with Eric Banner. I believe it fits. When you say you'd rather watch a movie with good story and bad CG versus bad story and good CG. This is a very good point. Keep asking, Dragon Drakeage, and we might just do it. I appreciate your thoughts and suggestion on that.
2003 Hulk has good CG and good story, just saying.
And Jennifer Connelly, let's not forget.
All right, Mike, would you like to introduce our next guest as well?
You mean Aaron or David?
Both, because Aaron, you are pro.
Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Lopresti, another legend in the comic book field. I believe he may have even started before me. This is great. I get usually like I'm the oldest guy in the room, but when
not
Aaron's
anymore,
here, not by a long shot.
Nope.
So Aaron, best known for his work on Wonder Woman and
Planet Hulk,
Justice
League, Miss Marvel.
Justice League, Miss Marvel. There you go. And so fantastic work. He's working now on his own projects. Wraith of God 2 on Indiegogo, available now. And
thank you.
Aaron, anything you want to add to that?
No, I'm just trying to keep from getting older, but it hasn't worked.
And please do follow him on Aaron Lopresti on all social medias, but especially on his YouTube channel. He does lots of cool drawing shows and a fun little Sunday chat with his wife and guests and whatnot. So.
Yeah, thank you very much. If you can spell my name, you can find me on social media. So
it's not spelled the People's Champ.
That's right. It's
I get how you feel, man. It's really hard to find my channel as well. So hard to spell.
I love that, being able to have this stream with such experienced artists, because when you talk about their work that you worked on, like Mike, you've done Injustice, Hedge Knight, and stuff like that, and Aaron's done Wonder Woman, but like Planet Hulk, these are titles that I've heard of growing up when I was a kid, and now being on a stream with the artists that worked on these projects is pretty awesome.
When he was a kid, Aaron, did he?
Yeah, I know. I know.
When I was a kid,
let it slide by, but Mike, you just wouldn't let it go, would you?
It's true though. Like I grew up, reading the stuff you guys were making.
Mother's milk. It was, Aaron.
I genuinely idolized the artists for their talent, because I wanted to be one of you guys. I wanted to be a comic book artist before I realized I don't actually enjoy drawing. I enjoy creating stories.
Well, thank you, Shad. I appreciate it. I said the same thing to like Mike Plug and Simonson when I first met them. It's like, I read your stuff when I was a kid. And they're like, thanks. Now I'm that guy. But thank you. I appreciate it.
I did that to John Byrne.
I'm sure you appreciate
David,
it.
are you alive? Are you with us? And
David? Not yet. Not yet.
David is having technical difficulties. Anyways, this looks fantastic. I love the rendering that the AI did on the super character.
Yeah.
And how did you get rid of the hat though?
So the AI was having heaps of issues with the hat, and it kept making him blonde. And so what I actually needed to do was grab this guy's head, copy it, and stick it in place on top of this head, put it back in the AI so that he would at least have the same face and head, because it's the same person he turns into the superhero. And so I'm happy that they look exactly alike, which is I wanted, but he's a bit too chiseled, as Oz was pointing out. He should be a little bit more pudgy there. But still, massively happy with the results.
Well, no, the interesting thing here, I mean, if you look at the left side, your original artwork, the coloring, the airbrushing, however you want to look at that, is very soft. And then you get over to the AI and you've got a more distinct use of shadows and stuff. It's a harder line, more articulated, maybe we should say. Is that a command, or is that something that's built in there that it kind of interprets that way, or is it a crapshoot?
So what happens is the AI, there's a program. So we're hearing an echo. Someone's echoing because we can hear Mike's talking even though he muted himself. Or is that okay? Sorry. What happens is you have the program, and what you do, you tell the program to use what's called a model. A model is, how would you describe it, Oz? It's a sample set of images that it learns from.
So a model is trained from a sample set of images, but it's like image. It's called weights, image weights, and it's like it's a different way of telling Stable Diffusion how to generate an image using a particular look or style or way of looking at things. It's like a game engine, it's how it's what the picture produced is made with. I don't really know exactly how to describe it.
Well, I can show you. So if I share my Stable Diffusion screen, right?
Yeah.
So this is
David apologizes, but the StreamYard gods are against him. So for some reason he can't. He says he keeps getting booted out, so he's just gonna let us go.
We would love David to join us. That's a pity. Sorry, David. Hopefully we'll be able to set it up in the future. So this is Stable Diffusion. I hope you guys can see this, right? And so this is the image to AI thing. And so this is the image I could feed it into tell it. What you have here is you have Stable Diffusion checkpoints. And these are the models that you can tell it to work from. And there's a couple of different models that will give the result a different style. And so this one, Mod DI, is modern Disney style. And so if I use that, the result will look like Pixar. And then there's like a base model which has that's been trained from the largest kind of sample set of images, which still produces pretty good comic book art actually, and that's just the model one. And so if I use that, it'll be okay. But then I've got 2 additional comic book ones. One is called Superhero Diffusion, and that's the main one I use. That's the one that gives me the really kind of great coloring. And Comic Diffusion gives me a more kind of sketchy style. And I'll show you the difference between the models as we generate the different things. But this is genuinely what can determine the stylistic look output of the generated images.
Yeah, and on top of that, there's also what you put into the prompt, which also is a big what determines the output. And a lot of the models that are very specifically one style require you to put in a specific keyword to activate that style.
Yes.
Can you feed in your own stuff, or does it have to be built into the? Okay, so you can drop in an art style and say, you know,
that's
Scott Campbell or Art Adams or something like that.
Yes, you can tell it to emulate certain artists, and if the model or a thing has like enough references to know what it means, I think that works fine and absolutely. Because one of the artists that I tell the AI to emulate a lot because his colors are amazing, is called ArtGerm. Have you heard of ArtGerm?
Yeah, Stanley Lau.
Yeah, so his colors are amazing. And so I tell it to make the colors look like this guy. And
that explains the coloring.
The coloring, exactly.
And you are giving it, the coloring that you already have on there gives it form and shape already.
Yes,
so I was wondering what's going to happen when we go from flat.
Well, I could show you because wow, it's a difference. So I'll get it. This is the next one I did, and you're right. When it has an image to latch onto, especially with colors and lines, the results are not only stunning but much easier to reach that point. There are, of course, a lot of limitations, and if you're wanting to try and get great results currently, you have to work through the limitations. And I honestly find that really satisfying because it does actually take artistic skill to get a result like this with the current technology. And I'll show you some examples of what I needed to do.
Adam
that looks terrific. Right face and hair are really, really good.
Yeah,
look at the folds in the pleats, dude. That's
so much better. So much look at the folds I did, right?
Look at the folds. Just emboweled.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. You're right. You're absolutely right, though.
What a guy!
But also look at the color work on the leather gloves.
I know, right?
Like, it's just like what?
Those are amazing results, by the way.
Yeah, well, see, this is the thing. Oz, because he's experienced with the AI program, I think he also knows how difficult it is to get such good results at times. It's not easy. And not only does it require really specific prompts, it requires me making a composite in Photoshop where I get the best parts from every image, put it together, and then feed it back through the AI again.
So if you drew let's just say not an entire book, but let's say a page, right? And you wanted to, and you got all the drawing done like you've done here on the left for the entire page, backgrounds, all that kind of stuff. And then you wanted to AI it up, like yours was like the base, and then you wanted something that looked like you have on the right. I mean, how much work are we talking if you're talking about like an entire page? I mean, is it like a ton of work? I mean, because I know you said you had a lot of work just to get this single image. I'm just trying to think, if you were doing a whole page like that, like how much work would it be?
You'd have to go panel by panel, probably.
Yeah, you'd have to go panel by panel, and even more, you might have to separate the individual character from the background. But it does integrate backgrounds pretty well. So it would be difficult, very difficult with the current technology.
So basically, it'd be like drawing the page twice if you were just.
Well, Oz, what do you think?
The key problem here is specificity, right? So if you have a commission or you're working on a comic that isn't yours, and you want to be ultra specific, even if it's your own work, getting it to be specific is tough. And that's why it's a balancing act between, like, look at Shad. He wants a very specific character. He's got to generate, couple hundred of images and work the best together. It's going to be a long time until you can get specifically, I want my own character. It can do Superman good enough that it might just require a couple corrections here and there. But look, specificity is a really tough thing for it to get. If it's, I mean, you can train your own models. You can do aesthetic embeddings yourself. But at the end of the day, it won't be able to replace an artist.
I just want to jump on what I said there. You can train your own models. So there's been a recent update. And what this means is, right, I haven't tried this yet, but I'm looking forward to trying this out, is that you can feed the AI like 30 to 40 images of a person's face or an object, right? And then train the AI to recognize and understand it. So then you could add in, generate this character doing this with this person's face, and the AI would be able to generate the face. But you need to train it to be able to do it, and I haven't even tried that yet, and it's fiddly. And
so it's not practical enough at this point where a guy, let's say, who doesn't draw really well, or maybe doesn't draw very well at all, but he wants to write a story and he doesn't want to hire an artist, that he could go in and pencil a page or whatever, finish a page, and then have it sort of the AI correct it up for him, kind of thing.
No, he could absolutely do that.
We're not there yet.
No, we are there. Well, we're absolutely there.
He could do it, but with a lot of difficulty. It's not as easy as improve my art, get the result. It's, right. You would have to go through a lot of processes.
Yeah, there's a process just like there is with making art. One thing you could do is have like a posing program, and there's free posing programs online where you can make a model be in a specific pose and take a picture, put the picture into thing, and generate it from there. You know, a black silhouette works really well too.
Yeah, but what Aaron's talking about is like from a basic sketch and translating that sketch into like finished quality, you know, high professional art.
Well, yeah,
I'll show you how much work. Well, yeah, but this is a more finished piece that it's working off of, and even then, it took a decent amount of work. This one, I have the process. Yeah, it took 300 different generated images. To get the elements that I wanted, and then from those elements,
Chad, how much time did you spend between last week and now doing all this stuff?
So from last week to now, I've done 2 new ones, and I'll show you those 2 new ones. Both of those new ones were as complex as this one here that you see on the screen. And I showed the process before, but it's instructive for people who missed the last stream. So let me just go into my AI art thing and open it, and I'll share it because it's really instructive. And I'll show you some of the tests or trials of the new stuff that I made, just to, I guess, let you guys see how difficult this can be. So I'll share this one. Okay, so out of 300, so this was the one, remember, and out of 340 generated images, I selected 6 that had elements that I liked and could work. And I'd like, look at this one. See how the arms are completely warped and mutated? Yeah. And this was, and I'll be able to show you in real time. We'll actually get the AI working, and I will show you the balance that's hard to match. Because if you don't give it enough freedom, it doesn't improve the image and add details. But if you give more freedom, that gives it'll then start to warp the design and mutate things, and then you get Gumby arms. And so, but the face was really good, and so
it's really good at doing Mr. Fantastic.
And so, out of grabbing those elements, I made this composite, and that was looking all right. And if you had, say, an image like this that you drew that you wanted to improve, it would be able to do this. Because then if you lower the freedom, feed into the AI, and then you wanted to upscale it into a high resolution version, this only took like 1 generation from that composite I made. And that was giving it very little freedom, but it still touched it up, made the colors smooth, made everything integrated, and it's just gorgeous.
But realistically, to get to this point, if this was just a single panel on a page, I can see that there's a lot of work involved and time.
You said it took about 4 hours to do this.
Yeah, for me, the time it would take to do it wouldn't justify. Well, it depends, because I don't have the talent to draw this well, and if I was working on my own, the time investment it would take a lot of work and a lot of time, but it would absolutely produce a result far greater, that would actually be impossible for me to produce on my own. And so in that sense, it would be worth perhaps people's efforts to try and achieve it. It'll be a lot of work, and it probably wouldn't be faster than people who are just talented to be able to draw this level right.
Well, and also keep in mind we are at the beginning of this. I mean, the AI art generation stuff literally just started like less than a year ago, I think.
Yeah, the speed in which this is progressing, it actually might not take too long to get to the point where you don't need to go through the steps that I go through to get the results.
Right.
Yeah. We've already got what do you call it? Image to video, you know, so you can take an image and you can animate it, and you can animate between two images, and it's just, you know, we're a couple of years until Shad, you'll just be able to put a book into this and it'll generate it, and you can just read through and make small corrections. You know, it'll turn it into a graphic novel. We're a couple of years away.
I think that's optimistic. Happy to be wrong on it, but I definitely think the technology has the potential to reach that point if it doesn't hit any barriers or blockades in the and it doesn't seem that I can't foresee any like roadblocks that I might run into that could stall the progression of this tech.
Well, it's always the same one. A human has to see it, and only a human will notice the major problems, you know, the tiny major problems like hands and faces and all that sort of stuff.
Well, who's developing this stuff? Is this gaming companies? Is it animation studios?
This is the cool thing. I love this. There's a couple of different companies making it. Stable Diffusion, they released it open source to the world. And it's like a collective project that anyone who wants to work and develop this is working on. And that is amazing to me. But it's also genius because the people, I don't know if they still have own the proprietary technology, because they literally released everything, but they're kind of getting free development as a result, where it's this collective, you know, global effort of hundreds to thousands of people developing this just because they're passionate about it and want to see it go further. And as a result, like when you have the collective combined intelligence of the most competent people on the planet working on something, the development suddenly is the speed in which it progresses is insane. And that's what Stable Diffusion is doing. And they're the only ones that have released it open source, Oz, are they?
Yeah, some of the AI companies had their models leaked. But Stable Diffusion, a couple of uni guys, I'm not sure from what university, just put it out there for free. And it's probably this might be the most ethical, just imagine if they had given this or tried to make a profit with this by selling it to like Google or something. You know, but they didn't. They gave it to everyone. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing that they just gave it to everyone for free. Can't get over it.
I generally think that is like a phenomenal, incredible thing, and like an uplifting thing to see this collective effort, because the speed in which this has been progressing has been like scary and amazing at the same time. So what the image that you see here, this was different to everything what I did before, because on this one, I only started with a sketch. I did flat colors. And so I just, you know, paint bucketed. And this was the result I got, but it was difficult. That was more difficult than before. But like, seriously, the result, though, was amazing.
Yeah, really, it's even decent lighting from working from flats.
Yeah, like... It had no cue.
I was gonna say, I actually like your head position on the original drawing than I do prefer. I mean, I prefer that to where the AI turned. Did you turn the head, or did the AI do that?
The AI made several different heads, and it was honestly like picking the best from the worst ones. It was
right.
Do I have my? Yes, I do have Mighty Man. So. All right, I think I just need to share my screen flat, and I'll be jumping between things, because I'll show you some of the best. Like when I say best, these arts, they're still not great. So I'll stop sharing that one, and I just need to share my entire screen. I hope nothing wonky gets shared on it, but I'll risk it. Risk it for everything. We'll have the StreamYards link. I might need to avoid sharing the StreamYards link. Okay, so actually, let me open up this one, and All right, and I'll be able to show you a lot of the different ones. I'll have to download each one from the cloud as I go through, but hey, I think you guys will bear with me on it. And so this was like, oh, that was the composite. That was the composite I made, and the one I'm showing you has been flipped horizontally. So if I these are the type of ones that it was spitting out from the original. And so this one, right? This was the only one that gave me a half decent collar. And so I was like, all right, I can grab that collar and put it on the composite image.
Yeah, you got that.
Yeah, this was
out from the flats.
From the flats.
Look at the coloring on that, Aaron.
I know.
From flats. Holy cow! I mean, it's not.
But yeah, like the face,
accurate, but the coloring is great.
The face is a mess. So this was when I gave it more freedom, and then it's a great image, but it completely just let go of the design.
Right.
And it was just going whatever way it wanted. But then I was like, all right, less freedom. And with less freedom, like the colors were nowhere near as dynamic. But that was the face that I liked. It's like, oh, okay, that's one of the better faces, because I was having trouble with the goggles. And I was like, I could do something with the goggles there. And I was telling it to give me a face of, an African American. This is a black character, and it wasn't always doing it. And so to get a face that had the right ethnicity,
wait a second,
that was one of the
few.
Would you
call him an African Australian?
Well, no, this guy actually, the character is based from the US.
Okay.
Though he's a boxer that is trying to do the rounds in England in the time of the story. And so. Again, and
that's pretty good. I mean,
I wonder if you just took his head and ran that by itself through the system, and you.
Yes, it can do that.
Impainting. It's called impainting, where inside the actual program itself, it'll give you a little brush, and people are making different tools for it that can auto recognize characters and faces. It's really cool. But you can take a brush, select an area, and tell it to redo that just one area or everything else.
Yes.
Yeah, one or the other. And it's a very versatile tool with a lot of different options.
What you're noticing, none of these ones have the collar though. Like they just got rid of the collar entirely, and the M, it got rid of the design, and so the M is just basically disappeared. In a lot
clearly,
of
the AI doesn't like collared people.
Yeah.
Well, I tried. This is where I was like, add a collar, and it's like, okay, here's your collar. And it's like, wrong collar. And there's like upturned collar, and.
well, Shad, can you share with me some of the prompts that you actually had for this? Because it does come down to, it's a thing about, is it the prompt or is it the machine or is it the, because if you have a specific type of shirt or fashion that you want put on, if you say put a collar on it, it'll be like, oh, okay, collar, but for what kind of piece of clothing, collar for a blouse, collar for a suit, it's a tricky one. But if you have something specific, like if there's a name for whatever that multiple buttoned thing is.
Oz, I just sent you the prompt for that one on Discord. And so this was the prompt for this image that was working off of the image input by ArtGerm, masterpiece, atmospheric scene, digital painting, smooth, sharp focus, 4K eyes, detailed face, hard shadows, bloom, vivid color, perfect anatomy, 8K eyes, detailed face, 4K hands, motion lines, masterpiece, breathtaking, superhero, male focus, muscular, old clothing, 1030s style. That's supposed to be 1930s style. What? Shad? What?
Chad. One of your prompts. Make him a Chad.
English. Leather laced boots, leather gloves, M on chest with double focus on the M on chest, comic maze style, which is telling it to use one of the models, dark skin, black man, golden age, jumpsuit, flight suit, utility belt, upturned collar, crossed laced footwear, buttons, wearing round goggles, 2 lines and buttons. That's the entire prompt.
See what you could do to streamline this a bit would be to once you've put in obviously that sort of stuff to get the base image, and if you've generated one that looks closest to what you want, get rid of everything up until sharp focus, and then just select the certain areas that you want changed, and then add the prompts for the things that you want changed, and then regenerate it again in painting, because in painting,
you're right, that might work better. Yeah. And so
I just love that the variations on the theme that you get. I mean, this is so great for concept design.
Yeah, the concepting potential is already amazing, like genuinely amazing, and it is spat out designs that I was like, oh, I'm going to keep that one for reference because I really like it. I wonder if one of them was here, because like look at all these different designs, right? And you'll notice like a lot of times the face is mangled, but one time it's like, oh, boots are really good, and so
I've got some stuff. I've got some stuff up on my screen at the moment that I could show off for my for some stuff that I made, as well as a workflow like that I could just quickly.
All right. Well, let's share those after I go through the comic books, but I'd love to see them. And so this is all the kind of the concepts and things that I then made a composite, which was this one. See this one? And you'll see if I zoom in, do you see the collar? How I cut that out and pasted on top.
Right.
You can actually see the cut line here. And then I made the colors match. And then I put this through the AI. And that's what got me armor. I'll share the final result again.
Now, how long does it take for it to regenerate a new image every time you do that? Is it just like a couple of seconds? Is it a few minutes? Is it an hour?
A couple of seconds. It takes seconds to make. Yeah, it would take 30 seconds to make, depending on how fast your computer is. It would take 30 seconds to make one image. For me, if like that quality, it would take about 10 seconds to make an image of that quality.
Yeah, it depends on computer hardware. If I crank it up to high resolution, and Oz mentioned that there is a way to go above the standard limit on resolution, and I haven't tried that yet, but 2000 pixels either plane is the highest at the moment. And if I crank it up, it might take me about a minute to for it to generate.
So when you say high resolution, Shad, are you saying that on the first generation of the image, right, just using image to image like you are here, you're cranking it up as high as it goes on the...
No. For the concept ones, I'm only doing like 500 pixels by something.
Okay, good.
Concepts.
Because there's a difference, but we can explain it later.
Yeah. This is a new one. So take this one.
Nice. I love these. So Shad showed these to me ages ago, and these are my favorite, one of my favorite characters. It's awesome to see them rendered like that.
Yeah, Oz knows this character. This guy, all I had was a very basic sketch, but the story I had developed for ages. And so this was the sketch here. And I don't know. I really like this one. Have you guys ever watched Person of Interest, the show? It's a great show. No one?
My wife, I know my wife has. She watches all that
great
stuff.
Great show. It's like Person of Interest crossed with Batman. It's basically if the genius person on the quest against vengeance was a cripple and didn't have the ability to do the actual crime fighting, but he can make the suits and everything like that. And so that's the center guy. And then he finds people who are willing to go on this, quest, fight against crime and stuff that he's outfits and everything. And that was the kind of concept behind it. And this was the result. And oh man, wow. Yeah. I was very happy with this result.
Yeah, those look very cool.
The face masks are a bit reminiscent of Star-Lord.
Yeah, wow, the face masks were really fun, and it gave me different results and stuff. I got better variants on the face mask concepts out of not using a superhero model, but using a base model.
Did you do flats on this?
Yes, yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. All right. Like, don't tell me.
But I skipped. Yeah, I know. I skipped. It wasn't able to do these together. If I tried to do it all together, it would, just mutate and everything. I had to do each character separate and then bring them back together. So I had to separate them, add flats, then bring it back together. To get two characters of the same design, because the AI doesn't remember design, like Superman, it would understand. And so if you did Superman, it would be out. There's enough reference material for it to duplicate the Superman design. But because these are my custom designs, it doesn't have enough material to remember what my own designs are. And so if I was to try and generate it again, I would never get this same design as a result because it's too random. I would need to train the AI with like 30 or more images of this character, give a name to it, and then it would be able to do it. And so as a result, the composite that I made to get this one didn't have arms. And so I needed to add the arms in the composite. And then as a result, I was able to leave the arms out and then get it to generate one with arms on its side. But if you notice, most of this is the same. There's only slight variance. And that's how I was able to get them to match. And so it was.
Well, no, why would it leave the arms off? Wouldn't that be kind of a built-in thing if you're doing human anatomy, that they would have 2 arms and two legs?
Well, it doesn't understand anatomy. That's the thing. So see this image here? See how the arms are in front of his chest?
Right.
The AI
interprets that. Yeah, it's something else. Yeah. Okay,
exactly. It couldn't recognize those as arms and hands in front of it. There was only one image that kind of did it, which gave me these arms. But do you see how the fists are fused?
Yeah.
And that was one of the only ones. A lot of the other images just deleted the arms and gave me an armless person. So that's what I mean. It is actually quite still difficult to get results like this. It will become easier. And honestly, I'm happy it'll become easier, even though I find satisfaction out of the process. And not everyone can achieve these results because it does require me still doing a lot of artistic work to reach this. I will not complain if it can save me 4 hours work to give me these results with just a few, clicks.
Yeah, that's the thing though, like how long would it take a real trained artist to do something like that? It would take probably equivalent amount of time, wouldn't it?
Maybe this one actually took longer. This was close to maybe 6 hours because there was
if you factor in the coloring, yeah, it would probably take longer than that, depending on how quick of a colorist you are.
Yeah, and it's open to everyone who's got a good enough computer to do it. That's amazing. Everyone has access to art now.
Then you start the war between the old-fashioned people like me and the newfangled guys where everything's computer, right?
And I have a response to that, sir, because I have nothing but respect for you artists, and you guys, you can actually use this tool better than any of us can because you have all the knowledge of all the art terms that you need to know, all the artistic styles. And
I need to interject. We're going to save that discussion. I want to hear the discussions. I don't think I'm putting a stop because that is the big discussion that I want to lead into. And so that's the next. We're still going to get to your art that I want to see. I also haven't forgotten about that. I have one last image to show, and this is the one that I did last night. And I have a lot of I saved a lot of the references so we can talk about it and show you in the generator. So this is the one that I did last night.
Nice.
Yeah.
So here is an interesting thing, right? People say that AI art is going to replace artists and make people draw less. I have been getting so excited and enjoyed about it. I've drawn more than I have in the last few years. Yesterday, because now I have a tool that can make my ideas in my head get incredible results. And I was kind of taking a day off because I was working on the print files for the graphic novel. I'll talk about that maybe on the update. I worked 14 hours straight without a break. It was a big day. So I just kind of needed a day off.
That's why I didn't invite you to Drawn and Quartered, because I was like, he's probably freaking neck deep.
Boy, that was a day. And so yesterday was kind of like my day off. But the thing that I chose to do that I was naturally finding relaxing, I was enjoying, was just making art. And this is actually still work. It's concept work for the graphic novel. But I was just having such a fun time and I wanted new stuff. And I was like, all right, I want this pose because I already had a concept for this character, but she wasn't in the right pose and it didn't convey a character. So I drew 3 brand new images for the purpose of putting into the AI, and I did way more drawing than I've done in ages. And having this tool is encouraging me to draw more, right? Which is awesome. And so I drew this yesterday, and I'm actually not thrilled about the sketch. I think it's okay. And so I sketched that. I added flat colors, and this is the result. And
hands a bit
like Randy Green hair.
Yeah, it is. It is. I was thinking that too. I love the face though. When you can get, I know it takes a while to get there, but these AI faces a lot of times are really good once you are able to
I mean, look at the
Direct it
definition
so
of
it
the
gets-
eye and the
Mhm.
shading around the eyes. I was just like,
Mhm.
wow. And so she actually started with a blue dress because, and then I just changed that in post to a white dress. But I have a lot of the references and stuff and generators. And this was, again, it probably took me 5 to 6 hours because it's not a simple process. But I will show you the trouble, because this is a good example to show you the limitations that the AI currently has. And honestly, the skill that is needed to be able to work through those limitations to get this result, a quality result like this. And so let me bring, so I have an image of the flat, I think. It's in a different folder. So let me just bring up the image of the flat. It's in Superhero Classic Gallant Girl. Okay, here it is. So I'll share this. And we'll go through a little bit of a journey, you could say, of what it took to get. So this is the flat that I started with.
Okay.
And so it was blue. I colored it. So what you notice, one of the problems I had, and you'll see in the test ones, is that it wasn't giving her breasts. It was giving her completely flat chest. And the only way to get the AI to recognize, hey, this character's supposed to have boobs, right? Was for me to add shading. I first needed to add shading. Then it still was having trouble. And the only way to get it to actually generate images that made her, have breasts was to get rid of the star, because the star was throwing it off completely.
Mhm.
And so when I switched to this, that gave me the figure I needed. And so I will bring up the generations now, where you can see, just go to Gallant Girl, and this is they're so mangled. I can't. These are funny.
Would it be easier to say draw the figure without any
Clothes?
design or any elements on it? Get the figure in the face the way you want it, then add the costume later and let it.
Honestly, yes, because the details on the costume can really throw it out. Like really throw it out.
In fact, that's one thing that I tried. Is I just said, hey, make a black silhouette. Make a black silhouette, just a black silhouette. It made one, and then I'm like, okay, put that into image to image, and hey, turn this into a smiling cyberpunk assassin. And it did everything else and kept almost perfectly the silhouette that it gave me in the first place. It's amazing.
So based on that first prompt, these were the results I was getting. Now, first off, see the problems with the star in the chest. It was just couldn't get it. And it is, if this is giving it a decent amount of freedom, because I needed to improve the color. And as a result, having a lot of trouble. And look, one of the errors was the prompt. I was trying to give it big eyes and I was getting messed up. And so I actually needed to add a negative prompt to focus it in, which gave me better faces. And the negative prompt I needed to add, because I added in short, girly, cute, right? And as a result, it was drawing too much references from anime, and it couldn't mesh anime style with comic book style. And as a result, it was see how the faces, the eyes are like half big and half not, and it's all mangled. So to get a half decent face, yeah, like look at that, look at the head. It was having a lot of trouble. But look at the skirt, look at the dress. That was like, okay, that dress is actually perfect for this one. I grabbed that dress. This face, it had potential. It's like maybe I could use the face. Everything else is a bit of a mess. And so yeah, I needed to add in a negative prompt taking out anime. And this is if I gave it too little freedom. So this is when I put the freedom down. See, the colors are mostly flat. It remained closer to the design, but the colors are pretty basic. It couldn't really achieve the level that it could achieve. And so these are all the tests for this image. And it's all like mangled faces, couldn't get the chest right. And so this is the result when I took away the star and gave it no anime. It's like, stop doing anime. So I removed the star, and suddenly we have we've got boobs now, people.
We have boobs.
We have achieved boobs.
We achieved boobs. And then they're not bad.
Two of them.
Two of them, in fact. They're not bad. And so for this one, I was just focusing on, I don't care about the face. The face can be mangled. Give us
Wait, go back to
something interesting you
that
bring
one.
up though, Shad.
No, forward one. Go forward one. Looks like her panty is around her calf.
Oh no.
So Shad, speaking of boobs, what do you think? Do you think that the various users of this technology might, use this to make boobs or waifu or sexy ladies? Do you think the internet might do something like that?
You think? You think?
Maybe?
Do you think it might push the entire field forward because that's almost exactly what everyone has been doing?
Not even think. We know that's the so Stable Diffusion has like when you're typing in the prompts, it has like auto fill, say based on the most common common things. Wow, some of the most common prompts people put in. Like for instance, I wanted a single person in the prompt, and so I started with
family show.
I know. I started with solo, and
oh wait, Shad, are you using the Dan Buru? You're using one of the Buru tagging systems, aren't you?
I don't know.
I think you are. Is it one of the ones that I showed you? One of the extensions?
Because if that's the case, there was an extension.
Yeah, if that's the case, it's not the most common. It's actually using a particular website that has tons of anime, cartoon, other artist images, and it uses their tagging system because it's got millions of images. Which all these images that are uploaded there, they have all these same tags as well. And so, and that is a not safe for work as well as a safe for work website all mixed together, but mainly not safe for work. Yeah. But still, it's the internet, so you're kind of halfway there.
This one was like, the face is mangled, but in terms of having like larger eyes, making it look a bit more girly, it had the most potential. So believe it or not, that's the face I actually grabbed for the final version. And then this is the composite. Actually, no, that was one of the... Okay, so after I made the composite, these were the results I was getting. So you might even recognize, see how I grabbed this face? Then you can see the same face there a bit, but a bit more improved. And so this was the result after I made a composite in Photoshop, and we're getting some good results now. It's like, okay, these aren't terrible. I can work with them. And then so I got that, then I added the star in. And so this is when you were kind of saying before, Aaron, that you might be better served not adding in design elements and add them in later. That's exactly what I did with this one. And so I did the select tool in Photoshop, paint bucket like gold over top, refed it into the AI, gave it very little freedom, but upscaled it into high definition. And that's where we get this.
Interesting. Wow.
And so, pretty good result.
The hands are the tiniest bit of jank, but otherwise it's really good.
Well, there's slight Photoshop touches up. So I fixed one of the fingers here. It didn't give me good eyebrows, so I drew in better eyebrows that were raised up to give her the expression. And then based off, and then I added in some hair here, so it would fill out the hair. And then that's how we got the final results in that. And that's what I did last night. And so there like a lot of difficulties. Like have a look at, look at all these other mangled things. For a lot of people, I feel, what can they do from results like this? A
lot of nightmare fuel to me.
Yeah, it's like to a lot of people, this would just be a brick wall in trying to get a finished result. And so you do need artistic talent to say, oh, this skirt is perfect. I can grab that skirt and then I can combine it with, the boots were like, oh, these boots, they're a bit mangled. Those better boots. And so I grabbed the boots off of the other images. Yeah.
What might help is in the negative prompts, put burn victim and Alabama in the negative prompt. And it'll get rid of deformities.
So these were the boots and legs I grabbed for the composite because I was like, hey, those are good boots. I can work with those boots. And you might recognize the hair here. This is the hair that I grabbed. I was like, I like that hair. I can use that.
And first, Shad grabs him by the hair.
And so it actually does require, especially with where it's at now, it requires a decent amount of artistry and ability to still get flawless results. It's not like a free one-click, get what you want out of it. But still, the results are when you get a final like finished thing, it's pretty good. Like it gives you sort of amazing stuff. Oz, do you want to share some of the things that you've been able to make?
Yeah, sure. How do I share my screen?
So see, there's a present button in the bottom. Click present.
Looks like a TV screen down there.
Share screen.
Yep. And then share screen, and then you select the specific window you want to share, and then Nathan will bring it up.
All right, I've got it shared.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a huge fan of Warhammer 40k. I'm a massive 40k nerd. I've got a bunch of stuff in the background of that. And I've tried making Warhammer art using just the image, and it doesn't do a very good job. It looks, because the proportions and armor is very different. And so what I had to do was I had to go into 3D modeling stuff, and I just found a bunch of models on the internet and made some myself. So I took them into Blender and I posed them. And this is one of the things that I made with the models and posing it. And then I put that over an AI-generated background, which was a comics-generated background, and did some critter and made it into this. Now, if you look closely, there's a bit of a break between the art style. Like, it's not obviously not perfect. Like look at the gun, for example. But yeah, and this took a lot of trial and error. And I had to mask out some areas and say, hey, don't generate over this area, like the face, like the shoulder, and like the knee pad. But everything else, it generally did. And I did another one for Benno. So I posed this in Blender. I did the lighting. And it's cool because you can set up the lighting and change it whenever. And it ended up making this.
Oh, I made that?
Yeah. Oh, I put the face in there.
I was gonna say, where'd the face come from?
Yeah. And another one I did. This one actually turned out well. So there was this comic that I always really liked from Warhammer. It's like, hurry up, filthy Xeno. And I made it in where is it? I made this in thing too. And
crazy.
Yeah, so it's and here's another one, right? And I just want to show something, right? So if you look at the background, obviously this one's a lot more 3D than it is art style. But if you look at the background, it's a bit of like a loose city concept. I got that loose city concept just from where's the picture? I had it before. I just made some basic, sketches with different brush tools in Critter. Turned the settings down really low, and it generated this pretty decent like background. But I'm not sure where the actual image. Oh, here it is. Here's the actual. So here's the original sketch for the background. I don't have the actual background on hand at the moment, but yeah, and it makes it, So for backgrounds, so
did you do the sketch?
Yeah, I just did this quickly in Critter with a bunch of different brushes just to get the sort of values that I wanted.
Wow.
And then it generates the rest in Stable Diffusion, and it gives you just a nice loose background to work with.
My brain's gonna explode.
Yeah, but tell you what, there is one thing
Aaron,
though.
you look mad.
Well, I still haven't figured out NFTs, and now I got to deal with this.
No, don't bother with NFTs. Don't bother with NFTs. I'll teach you. I'll show you. I'll send you some links. However,
don't confuse me.
There are some things, right? I tried doing everything in Blender and then sending it all to the thing. So I made this scene in Blender, but when I put it into Stable Diffusion, nothing worked at all. So
really,
you got to make the character, and then you have to put the character on the background that's pre-made, and then you have to put that all into Stable Diffusion and then mess around with it in Critter.
Yeah. Would you have better luck doing the background separate to the foreground character in the AI?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because it can have trouble with merging things in the background when you give it too much freedom.
Yeah.
All right. So we've shown you some of the limitations, and that it still requires artistic talent, all those things to get flawless results, especially if you're converting from an image where you want to set design and everything. Let's have the discussion about the whole AI kind of thing. And we're already jumping onto a discussion that Oz was kicking us off onto, which was the fact that the people who will actually be able to use and get the best benefit out of AI art is actually artists. So what were you saying there, Oz? Did you want to finish that concept, or we'll just flow into the discussion?
Yeah. So the prompt system, it works by getting key. Obviously, you're putting in the words for the picture you want to see, and to do that, you can't just put in "Give me Superman." Like, it'll give you a picture of Superman, but it's not going to be anything like if you want Superman from a particular era, like modern era Superman with all the amazing art, coloring and shading and stuff like that. You are going to need to put in specifically, rim lighting or hard lighting, hard shadows. 2010s comic book. If there's a particular artist, put in his name as well. So if you want a particular sort of composition, like him flying above the city, if you want a picture from above him with the city background, you're going to have to type in "from above," looking down at subject. If you want Superman looking at the camera, looking at the point of view, you got to do "looking at viewer." If not, looking away from viewer. If you want foreshortening, that helps to put that in there. You have to know the specific things, and artistic terms are just as important as what you want to see in the thing, like the subject and the background. It's just as important to use the artistic terms. And because you as an artist know that, you know all the correct keywords like rim lighting, bounce lighting, atmospheric, words for compositions like rule of thirds, golden ratio, different types of lighting like golden hour lighting. See, I don't know them all, but you guys do.
That's Chris Bacalo style right there.
This one?
Yeah.
So I'm generating some images from scratch with the prompt I just put in here. So this is the prompt I used for Mighty Man, and I read it out before. So I'm telling it to make it look like art germs, so the colors get that. Masterpiece, atmospheric scene, digital painting, smooth, sharp focus, detailed face, hard shadows, all that. And then it goes into the more specific stuff. Male focus, muscular, old clothing. It's not supposed to be 1910s. I'll do 1930s style. English, leather, lace, blues, gloves, M on chest and everything. And so these are what it's producing, and I'll just be kind of generating some images in the background as we do this discussion. To follow off from what Oz was just saying there, right? I think you would have it would be really tricky to make a text prompt to get the AI to produce a specific panel in a comic book exactly the way you wanted, because to describe the exact pose of the character just through text and the interaction with another character would be so hard. And one, the technology is not even there. It would be impossible with the technology currently, just on text. It can't be done. And if the technology even progresses, makes it possible, the level of description you would need to get that panel exactly the way you wanted, I think what it could do, though, is finalizing a drawing, like an input of a sketch with a color prompt. I think the AI might even be able to do it right now, but it would still be quite fiddly. But the technology would get so good that just with a basic sketch that shows the pose and position and stuff, until make it professional quality, I think it will be able to get that level. And
once we can figure out how to get it to work in multiple layers, like a Photoshop art or like digital artist would, then we're good. But what we really need is a couple of Judas artists, traitors to their own artistic cause, to come in and help us work with the machine on that.
Never.
We'll give them 30 NFTs of silver.
This is interesting. You gave him a Doctor Strange cloak.
I know. I was going to say, it looks like Doctor Strange without the beard.
And it's getting that from the upturned collar prompt, and it's took that and then kind of run with it. It did the utility belt actually the way that I kind of wanted. That's not a terrible design, honestly. That's interesting.
No. Hey, guys, I got to feed my dog real quick. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Don't go into anything juicy till I get back.
Hey, Shad, add the word fighting to the prompt.
If you want something like that, it's best to put in where you actually have the main sentence for the subject, like Superman flying or Superman fighting. You want to do an action pose of character. That's the best.
I can add action pose.
Yeah.
Pose.
Put that to basically the main sentence of where you're describing your character, the main sentence. So I can't really see it exactly.
I don't have a main sentence describing what it's doing. I just have superhero, male focus, muscular, old clothing, and then clothing.
So a phrase would be like a superhero in an action pose throwing his fist out front.
And that's the thing. Stable Diffusion does work better with the sentence than it does with the keywords. Does that make sense?
Really?
It makes sense to you, Shad, doesn't it? Like
Kinda, yeah.
using the commas is just to try and lightly nudge it, but to send it on the course you want, the sentence is the more powerful thing, and it works better with that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have added superhero in an action pose, throwing his fist forward. Okay. And that's the first prompt before everything else. I'm interested in what that will do.
Punching would probably work better because it recognizes punching more than throwing it forward. Yeah.
It's already got a more dynamic pose, though. Have a look at that.
Yeah.
So you reckon in an action pose, punching forward?
Yeah. Punching viewer might even work as well.
Forward. Now, to get the AI to follow a specific design, if it was going to be doing a custom character, the fist is a bit more forward in this one, it would understand Superman. So, but if you want to do a custom one, you would need to train the AI to know what your character looks like, and then you need to put the prompt of what your character is. And you can actually give it you get to name it, and you need to give it a name that is nowhere on the internet, so it only focuses in what it's trained. So you would say, like, if it was Dalen, I would do like day light C or something like that, so it wouldn't come up on the thing. And then it would do that, but then I would also need to train it to do Imperious, which would be another thing, and it would be difficult.
That's a good design, man.
Yeah,
you like that design?
Yeah,
that's got some cool colors to it.
That one.
Oh, we got
put Alabama in the negative. But also,
Really?
Shad, I'm pretty sure you're using an older version, because they did comic diffusion, then they did superhero diffusion, and now they've got a different version where it's all in one and it uses a bunch of different artists.
Oh, I need that one. Yeah, I don't have that. I'm
just
using superhero diffusion. I can jump to comic diffusion to show you the difference in kind of style. And so I'll do a couple more to show what the style is. So
and maybe we could show people how to quickly download them, because it's so easy. I'll send you the link to comic diffusion too.
Batcat man.
Batcat man.
You know, the interesting thing about this on a very basic level is you can get a lot of ideas for costume design pretty quickly if that was all you were focused on.
I mean, look at this. It's just like costume design ideas.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do Castle.
That's a good Bucky type costume design right there.
All right, so we've got castle in background. Let's see if that adds. So this is probably it trying to do something castle-like. Weird design there. If we really wanted it to focus on a set design to get a consistent character, we would add something like Superman or Batman or a well-known character. Right. Do we want to see what it can do with a set design like Superman?
Where does it get, if you just type in Superman, where's it getting that from? The internet or something? I mean, where's it drawing that information from?
I'm pretty sure it's a bit of both. It's a list of so it's pre-trained on stuff, but I'm pretty sure it uses internet reference as well.
It's weird. It works with I can do this without internet connection, so it must be able to do it purely off of its own references and model that you load in.
That's the thing, though. You know, of all the thousands of the infinite amount of things you can generate, for it to be offline and do that, I can't imagine how it does it exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, whoever's programming this, I mean, I get why you'd say, well, Superman's pretty, or Spider-Man or somebody like that is pretty well known, but I mean, it would just depend on who's doing the programming to determine how much information they're feeding into this program about any particular character, right?
Yeah.
And if it's not using the internet to find it, then it would have to be information that's in the programming.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so
it's magic. It's hard to know how it works. I'm not a
looks like somebody broke Superman's arm there, but
yeah.
Show me your settings, Shad. Can I have a look at your settings?
Yeah,
okay,
we'll just
so you've got no, don't go into settings. I mean, I'm just looking at your go back to text to, so take the sampling step up to like 30 or 40. Try 40.
Yeah.
And take the CFG up to about 11.
Yeah. Well, what does the CFG do again?
It's how much of the prompt you want it to use. Like if you put it all the way down to 0, that's giving it as much freedom as you want it to have. So it's about how much freedom you want it to do to have. And now give it a go. Now give it a go.
And see, it's small tweaks like that actually is part of the artistry and understanding how to use this tool. It's just like knowing how to use the brush presets right in Photoshop.
Okay. And
my buddy Oli says it's trained off a data set that has to be installed on the PC.
Yeah, and so that's what these models are here.
And so Shad, there's another extension you should put on. It's called NAI Convert, but I'm going to send you this that I want you to put in the negative. Get rid of everything in the negative prompt, and then chuck that into the negative prompt that I just sent you on Discord.
All right, let me grab it.
And also at the beginning on the positive prompt, put masterpiece, comma, best quality.
All right, so we've added this to the negative front, which is low res, bad anatomy, bad hands, everything like that. I have masterpiece here.
Oh, yeah, put that at the very beginning.
At the very beginning.
And also after that one, put best quality. Other things that would work for that would be like highest detail, absurd res. But yeah, that's good enough. Give it a go now.
Here you go.
And here you go.
It becomes a bit addictive, like it just is like, oh, what can I get next?
Right. When do you stop?
Like Ancestry.com. It's just going to be on here nonstop for a week.
Look at the city. I know he doesn't match the angle.
What was the prompt? Action, superhero in action pose, punching forward. See, what I would do is Superman in flight pose, from above. I'll wait for you.
So you guys are just typing in basically English words and it's following those prompts, just like, draw a bird flying. You know what I mean? It's not like some code thing you're entering in. It's like,
no, it's not.
You're just telling it literally what to do.
Yeah. Put a bracket between, comma between flight pose and from above. So you want separate, and what else there? Looking at viewer after from above as well. And that should be good enough.
Looking at viewer.
And now send that through. Give that a go.
See what it does with this. So yeah, the specificity on the prompt for generating something from scratch is key to getting good results. And Oz has more experience in doing it. Interesting, I think. Like it's mangled, but if we give it a couple more tries, we might be able to get something that actually looks really cool. And so,
got a Spider-Man there.
Yeah, we got a Spider-Man influence there.
Spider-Man foot arm.
You're just like they're merging together.
And what also
why would you suddenly get two characters when you just had one before?
Because he hasn't specifically put in solo focus. Like try solo focus or one subject or something like that. Solo focus, and then down in the bottom one in the negative prompt, put in multiple subjects. Now you could do what the Japanese Buru system would be. It'd be one boy for one guy, or because that's the Buru style of tagging. But this should.
See what this does.
See,
it doesn't always work.
Maybe put some weight. And also another thing that's important is the size.
He's got two legs, man.
The size of the image that you put in will also put towards how many characters are in the scene.
That's not a terrible one.
Yeah.
So this isn't based off any drawing you've put in there. This is just using commands to try and create something.
Exactly. And so one of the misunderstandings about AI is that it copy and pastes from previous images. Look at this. And people think that it found this face somewhere for Superman and it copied the whole face and merged it with other stuff. No, it doesn't do that. It actually works on a much smaller scale where this entire image is constructed from scratch using pre-existing artwork as a guide to try and match it. Because if it was copying pasting, you wouldn't get such mangled, deformed face constructions and everything, because who in their right mind would draw a face like that with so much volume for the AI to just copy a mangled face from so many references? And so this is being made from scratch, which is why I think the argument that it copies people's artwork and infringes their copyright is false. I disagree with that.
Hey, Shad, can you send me your positive prompt? I want to try it in the newer version of Comic Diffusion, see how it works.
So then you could take, if you say, okay, this Superman image right here, I kind of like this. Maybe that the left leg's a bit jacked up or whatever. You can take a piece of this and then just kind of keep running it through until you get what you want. That's not bad there.
Well, I'll show you. This isn't bad. So if we send this to InPaint, right?
Pretty pointy butt cheeks, though. Look at that.
Yeah, it's like there are some issues that we don't like. So we can say, look, let's redo that. Let's redo this leg. Okay. And so see how I'm highlighting sections? It's like it got the belt wrong. And so I'm going to say, look, you could redo the belt there. I would like a bigger Superman S. So redo that section here as well. And
good arm, though. Look at that arm.
Give it a bit more freedom on general. Oh, that was the image size. So I need to match the image size, and I'll give it freedom. You reckon redo part of the arm as well?
No,
like this part.
I like the arm.
Yeah? You like the arm? All right.
Yeah.
And so what we can do now is regenerate the sections that are highlighted specifically. And if we were to be more specific, we could remove some of these unneeded things for it to focus in on what we want it to do better. Like we could say Superman S. And so the S is a bit better.
That leg isn't working.
Leg is though.
So, all right. I
Man
kind
with
of touched
cancer in
on
the knee cancer.
I touched on the copyright thing. There are people who are objecting to the way AI art generates its images as claiming it is infringing people's copyright. What are your thoughts on that, Oz? Oh, hey, it did the build a little bit.
You know, what's that old saying? A great artist takes from one source, and bad artist. A plagiarist steals from one source, and an artist steals from thousands. Right?
Good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Thank you. That is one of them as well. This is just it does exactly what an artist does. An artist when they make something, and this is my opinion. I'm not a professional artist, but I have tried to be an actual, artist because I like to draw and paint and stuff. You have thousands of different stories, characters from real life and from other people's works, histories. All of this comes together, works with your own little algorithm inside your head that we all have, and spits out an image for you. And this is exactly the same thing. It's just another tool. That's all it is. If you compare this to back in the day when people were saying, "Oh, you're a digital artist. You don't use pen and paper and ink. Wow, you're not a real artist. You use Photoshop." Okay. And before that, it was, "Oh, you're not using fingers on the cave wall. You're using a stick and twig." Okay, buddy, you're not a real cave artist. Okay, like, no, get out of here. It's always the same thing when a new tool or a new era comes in. And
well, I look at this kind of like. I kind of look at this as like what happened with animation when Pixar came in, right? Now you go into Pixar and you got a bunch of guys sitting around with computers creating animation as opposed to a bunch of guys with pencils and paper creating animation. But then it becomes a thing that's widely seen and done. And then after a while, like we're seeing right now, as you start to get a little bit of blowback because it's like it becomes so perfect. And so, it becomes almost expected and sterile in some ways in terms of style and approach. And so then you have people going, "Oh, I want to go back to the old,
it's getting worse.
the old animation style," right? So you have something like Klaus or something that comes out that is kind of a hybrid. And, but that, so you're going to have the same arguments going to come up. Guys like me are going to go, "Well, you guys aren't really drawing, the computer's doing it for you. Yes, you're making decisions, and yes, you're making artistic decisions to get it where you want it, but the thing with progress is you either get on the train or you get run over, right?" And so I see myself getting run over, but at the same time, I don't see this as being, whether you like it or not, I don't see it as being any different than what happened with computer animation, right? You had all these animators that are out of work, and then all these new and upcomer ones, all they're learning is doing it on computer and not doing it the old fashioned way, because this is how now it's done. So,
and at the end of the day, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't what makes art and art style is it's not about the details that are correct. It's about the imperfections. It's about the things that aren't you know, a copy of reality that make it an art style, that make it interesting and beautiful to look at. It's the imperfections. Am I wrong?
Right. I mean, that's
there's no
kind
real
of the
style to photorealism.
Yeah, exactly. If your height of perfection is photorealism, then anybody, you know, Barry Smith's work in, say, Conan with the big eyes and the really tiny nose and things like that, that's not reality, but it was that type of, you know, interesting take that made his stuff stand out and, you know, made him a superstar, as opposed to just another guy that kind of drew everything sort of looks like it's supposed to look, and he's just another one of those guys. So yeah, and I guess you would look at that as the imperfections, right? Because if perfection is photorealism, then anything below that is going to have a level of imperfection in it that then we call style.
And as to what you were saying before with the style looking the same because the new thing has come out, you're actually right about that. And the exact same thing has happened with the AI art scene, where people will invent a new style using the prompts. They'll upload it for everyone to see, and it's usually a combination of a bunch of different art styles, and then everyone will start using that. And the most recent one is Sam Does Art, who's a YouTuber and an artist, and he was upset about it, and he Streisand affected it. So careful with it was crazy. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the exact same thing.
So in terms of like artists, I just want to go back on the copyright thing a bit. And then there's other points that I want to talk about that you guys raised in the discussion. Is I feel like if you put your art out to be publicly seen, and you still have the protection that you can't copy that image and sell it or anything like that. That protection is still in place, right? But as soon as you put something just to be publicly seen, period, that is an acknowledge. Like you can't like. If you allow anyone to see your artwork anyway, not even if it's on the internet, you know the fact that that is information you're giving other people that they can draw inspiration from. Okay, like you can't avoid that. That is the natural process of life almost, and especially if you put it online, you are acknowledging that people can look at your art and choose to imitate it if they like it, and you can't do anything about it. And that is not sorry.
No, say that's right. I'm agreeing with you. That's absolutely right.
And exactly.
At the same time, though, right? How original is the idea itself? Like, look at something like Warhammer 40K, because I'm a nerd for that, right? That has taken from maybe even dozens, and not thousands, but dozens of different ideas. You know, it's taken the space side. Like, who was the first person to think of an armored space soldier? Who was the first person to think of that idea for a character? Who knows, you know, but there's millions of different comic books and video games and movies about a soldier wearing armor in space, you know, and you know, just going to further categories of that, we're all just taken from the same sort of, you know, it's inspiration, you know. How do I put this?
No, I understand what you're saying.
Though?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is what the AI is doing. And so the argument that how dare people, you know, use my art to train the AI is like, well, you allowed it to be publicly seen. And so like using someone else's art to train the AI would be similar to me using someone else's art to as a reference piece of material that I look at as I that's always a one-for-one example of what's truly happening there.
You've got artists copying other artists' style is training from other artists' style. It goes all the way back to the beginning. It's I always say that, like, without Neil Adams, like, this entire comic book field would look like completely different, because we're all like the grandchildren.
Sorry, that one was great.
He's got two Achilles heels though.
Yeah.
I mean, the foot's a little jacked up, but that was a pretty good one. The one before that one.
That's because he added Mike S. Miller to the prompt. So
I've just added Mike S. Miller to the prompt. And so it's emulating it. It should be emulating Mike's art in this one.
And also,
it's just doing much better since you added that. You should always add that.
it's not just, and just so you guys know, it's not just what prompts you put in, what words you put in. It's also the order that you place them in. So it's best to start off with masterpiece first, best quality first, and then from there you'll want to go more into the subject, and then solo focus. Then you'll want to do the artistic keywords, and then from after the artistic keywords like 8K hands, highly detailed, different types of lighting and stuff. Then you'll want to put in the main sentence of Superman flight pose, and then from there you'll probably want to do the artists to reference.
So this is interesting. I'm using a different model. This is a completely different kind of training set that the AI is using to generate this now. It's called comic diffusion. I was previously using superhero diffusion. And so we're getting a different art style. So Aaron, this is how I was showing you could get it different styles, right? And so if you want something more extreme, I'll show you something fun. So I'll do this one. That's not a terrible one. But if I jump to...
Why are they constantly giving him multiple feet?
Yeah, I know. They haven't quite got that leg thing figured out for some reason.
Well, how do you think he leaps tall buildings in a single bound?
He's got 3 legs. That's how he does it.
3 legs?
3 feet.
Poor Lois Lane. I mean, lucky Lois Lane.
Yeah, it depends how you look at it, right?
She's got a foot fetish. Wow,
She's super rod. What do you?
So, guys. So this one, I'm using the model that basically emulates Pixar 3D.
Right, I was going to say, yeah. That looks really good.
That one's great. Look at
that. At the same time, it has ignored a lot of your prompt.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. So specificity versus art style is still,
All right. So the next thing I wanted to discuss a bit further is the notion of advanced. Wow.
There's your third leg. There it is,
baby. He literally has a third leg, and it's a big one.
And his channel's going to get struck.
You put a sock on it.
Lois going, what? He is an alien. Saved. That nightmare fuel is gone now.
Well, at least they didn't do it from the front, right? There was.
Yeah, my goodness.
Oh, gosh. That's another good one there.
Yeah, this one's not bad at all. This one. So, yeah, you absolutely can get completely different artistic styles based on the model you tell it to use. Like, that one's not bad.
That almost looks like an action figure, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There is an action. Oh, and also, Shad, did you use that that artist thing that I sent you? There's a list of all the artists, and you can actually put in different either video game companies or toy company things into the prompt, and it'll generate them to look like either the video game company or the toy company like renders. It's really cool.
Yeah, this one has a pretty cool face. So we can try and share some of these links in the description and stuff if people are interested in pursuing it, giving it a try themselves. All right, so I want to talk about the notion of, technology that arises already that has enabled artists to save time, okay? And I don't think people are applying certain standards equivalently in their criticisms to AI art. So Photoshop is a great example. There are rendering, tools in Photoshop that basically can do the job for you. Like one of the very common rendering tools in Photoshop is cloud. You make rendered clouds, but then you can do effects on top of those clouds and warp it to get like any number of finishes and things. I remember using Photoshop to make marble, like polished marble. Let me find this piece of art because this is an interesting
and while you find that, ladies and gentlemen, the legendary, the man who broke the bat, Graham Nolan. Welcome.
Oh,
gentlemen, good to be here.
Graham, great to have you. So, Mike, could you share some of Graham's pedigree? He was the guy who drew Batman versus Bane, breaking the back. Am I right?
not just that, he
co-creator of Bane.
created
Creator
Bane
of
with
Bane.
Chuck Dixon.
Creator. Wow.
Yeah.
That is great.
Graham, you want to give any more of your pedigree than that? I mean, it's kind of like.
I'll just stand behind that one. That's good enough.
And he's got a book live on Indiegogo right now, Ghosts of Matacumba Key.
Right. Oh, thank you, Mike.
Absolutely. I'll get your YouTube channel link up here too.
Can I just say, I can't believe I'm just this like smartass on the internet who gets to hang out with like and talk with some of the greatest artists to walk the earth. The guy who invented Bane. I love The Dark Knight Rises. I saw that movie like 50. I literally watched it back to back in the cinema. Oh man, it's so good to be here.
Very nice. Thank you. What are we talking about tonight?
We're talking about AI. So I'm trying to keep my my anger in check, but
all right,
and learn about the process of us losing our jobs here pretty soon.
Well, all right. Let's talk about that then briefly, because I don't think AI will ever replace artists completely. Look, it's going to make certain jobs easier and replace certain tasks that artists were capable of doing. I think that's we just need to acknowledge that with where it's going, most definitely. But
concept artists, they're in trouble.
well, let's think about this. Let's look at pottery. This example is, I was talking to my brother Jazzy. I was trying to get him on the stream. He didn't have time, unfortunately, so he can't join us today. But I was talking to him about AI art, and he gave this example that I thought was actually quite interesting. Pottery. Okay, there are factories that make pottery automated, like just complete on automation, where they just they put in the thing. I know it's more complex, but there is a process where machines make pottery. Okay. The thing is, though, there are people who make handmade mugs and pottery things, and they're still able to have a living, and they sell it. Like Joss was talking about, people like I hand make pottery, and even though you can buy pristine, perfect, better quality pottery at a cheaper price through Kmart or Walmart or whatever, people still buy my handmade pottery because it's made by a human. And it's made by an artist, and it has that human element in it.
Right. In our space, a lot of us are going digital, and that means that none of us who are going digital have original art to sell. And there's still plenty of original art collectors out there. They want the original art. So like on the second issue I'm doing here, I'm doing it all digital just because I want to get it done in a reasonable amount of time, and inking in real time with real tools, not markers, Aaron, but real tools.
All right, here we go.
It'll grind me to because I'm super fastidious when I ink, and it's like, but if I do it on the tablet, I get this pretty darn close, similar results, and it's just like a penciling. It's like taking an entire stage out of the process. But I will have no original art for the second volume.
Well, so, Graham, you're doing the same thing.
I wanted to show you. Yeah, I wanted to show you something. Speaking of tools, Graham, he was.
Sorry,
Aaron, you were saying something.
Oh no, I was just saying, Graham. I was just. I was kind of curious to hear Graham's opinion, because you recently switched over to doing tablet and stuff on your projects, right? Digitally as opposed to traditionally.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I started doing digitally. Occasionally, I'll do old school style. If I need a piece of art that I want to sell, to upsell or something like that. But you know what? I've been in this business 40 years. I got a shit ton of artwork. I don't need more. What happened to Mike?
I don't know.
Something that like what you're talking about, how technology just can aid us as artists, even though we're traditional artists and we're like real human beings, not AI. The technology, like on this program called Procreate, what is that?
So this is an example of what I wanted to show, that Photoshop has tools that enables you do the job for you. I wanted a marble texture to add as the texture of Imperius in the graphic novel. And so I used several Photoshop layer effects. I started with a cloud layer, then I did like multiple different things, and I did a color overlay to get this marble pattern. Now, for me, if people wanted to apply the same logic that they do to AI, they would essentially be saying the Photoshop robbed an artist from making this pattern for me, or something like that, or it's cheating that I got a computer to make this pattern instead of doing it myself. And I don't see people applying the same kind of criticism for when lots of times when people use computer programs to basically do the job for you, because it saves a vast amount of time, and it oftentimes gives you a better, higher quality result as well.
To be fair,
here's the key to all this, I think, is that what you're going to find is guys like me who are old school artists who criticize this and say, I trained 20 years or 30 years or whatever to be able to do what I do. You guys can't do what I can do, but because you can learn a computer program, you can basically do what I do without all the blood, sweat, and tears. Okay. Now then it becomes an argument of, well, you're more intellectually able to approach art this way than I am. Right. So you could argue that your ability to make the computer do what you want it to do is as valuable as my ability to do it by hand, right? But ultimately, the only people that care, and we're talking about commercial art, okay, which is essentially, if you're creating art to be sold, you're creating commercial art, okay? The only people that care, or the people that care, are the people that are paying you to do the job. And if you give them a product that they like, they don't give a rip how you did it. So the only people you really have to deal with are grumpy old artists like me who say, you guys are cheating. And I may believe that, but it doesn't matter, because the final product is all that matters when you're selling that to whoever hired you to do it.
I have a prime example of this.
Well, can I jump on one thing? Because I think you're actually right in one sense about, like the person commissioning it probably just wants the best quality possible and they don't care how you get there.
Right.
But I would actually still say an artist that was able to produce the same level of quality but fully by hand inherently makes that piece of art more valuable than the AI generated one. Commercially, maybe even that as well. You could sell it as this is handmade or hand drawn, as a premium thing.
If you're selling the original, right? If that's part of your market, which it is for me, right? Because I count on that as part of my income. But if you don't have to do that, if you're just solely working on whoever hired you, and I'm not talking about hired you to do a commission, I'm talking about an ad agency or whatever, do a movie poster, animated film, whatever. They're hiring you to do this. All they care about is the finished product. And they say, wow, that looks really cool. I don't care if you airbrushed that on a board or if you did it on your, you created it on your computer. And so that's where the argument only has so much staying power. My grumpy old man argument only has so much staying power, because ultimately we're all doing this to make a living in some way, shape, or form. And so as long as the final product is what someone wants that hired you, then you're a successful artist, right?
You see this play out like to the extreme at comic book conventions, where, and this when I stopped going to comic conventions, is my sales like cut in half after Avengers Endgame came out, because it let the gas out of the entire fan base. For like everyone at the convention was like, yeah, dude, this was like the worst year ever. It was like the year after Endgame. And but my one friend, who he's actually watching, he represents other artists. Well, a couple of his artists, they do what I consider piecemeal photoshopping of characters. So they'll take a toy and then they'll add graphics to the toy, lighting, whatever. They'll grab little things off of Google and just piecemeal these Galactus stomping through New York City, or Venom fighting Carnage, or whatever it is. And the fans don't care. They just look at that as like, dude, that's the coolest Venom fighting Carnage I've ever seen. It's like, oh, who did it? Don't care. Is it hand drawn? Don't care. It's the cool factor.
Right.
It's how good do they think it looks, and it's realistic looking because it's all cobbled from photographs of different things. And this is very much in that vein where if you can get to the point where you're just producing AI rendered art, you could go produce 100 different prints and make a killing at Comic-Cons selling stuff that you did not have put your fingers to the board on.
Don't forget that, like the vases, the sculptors, the difference between factory and handmade. There is also a niche, a market of people who want the handmade, hand drawn. Like even someone like me who likes movies. I like how Christopher Nolan does his best to get practical effects, and they look great because of that. Versus Marvel, basically everything, it's got its own art style for how janky it looks. Yeah. So the handmade and the extra effort is its own market within a market.
Oli, who was I talking about, is in the chat. He says Anime LA just banned all AI art.
What's Anime LA?
A convention in Los Angeles.
Oh, really?
You can't sell AI art.
Oh boy! So
I got a bunch of grumpy old artists like me in charge. We're not going to let those good people come in with it.
People who do that, I feel, are missing a massive opportunity. And I want to talk a little bit what Oz said about before is the people who will be able to get the most success out of AI art is actually talented artists like you guys. You would be able to use it to a far greater level than people like me who, for one, you could like if AI gets to a point where it can produce a flawless result based on an input sketch, the best quality that sketch is, the better the result the input would be. And because you guys understand proportions and your speed is so much better than normies like me, you would be able to outperform anyone like me. Like these sketches that I did yesterday, it took me maybe.
I need to show some.
Yeah, Nathan, can you share Mike's screen?
So this is Procreate. This is exactly what you're talking about. In Procreate, you can do this awesome freaking thing where you just create a drawing guide, and you can create. And this, I'll tell you what, any artist will tell you how long it takes to lay out grids for backgrounds and whatnot. And if you're using Procreate to just throw this down, look here, done drawing, and I just start boom. Oops, I gotta turn on the assist, and I'm just gonna draw this like crazy castle with its perspective all in grid. But now imagine taking this and you're able to do a simple rendering, of windows and whatever, and then you take that and you throw that into an AI processor and you create a background. You could do a background that would normally take you about 2 hours of highly detailed stuff and spit it out of a thing and then stick it in the background of the rest of your drawing.
Do you want to complete that sketch and send it to me on Discord, and I'll put it into the AI, and I can show you what the AI could do out of that guide.
You don't even need to do that. I can show you. In fact, you can do it. All you need is a rough concept of values. That's all you need, like a thumbnail, basically, a values thumbnail. For anyone who doesn't know, that's a very small, low-resolution picture that just has black and white shadow values on it with foreground, midground, and all that sort of stuff. And then you take that and put that into Stable Diffusion, and it'll generate you a more or less finished background. And I can do it now. I'll do it now. Let's make a new thing.
Do it now.
Sorry. Let's try it.
And so the example, sorry, you get that up, Oz, but the example I wanted to share. See, so this is the sketch I did yesterday. It probably took me maybe 30 minutes to an hour to do, right? Mike would be able to do something of far better quality, much, much quicker because he's a more talented artist. And then putting that into the AI, and AI will get better at this, working off of image prompts. He would be able to get a much better result much quicker than me because he's simply more talented and faster. And so the artists that are trying to ban all AI, I really feel are missing a big opportunity, because like just with Photoshop, the people who are the most talented artists can get the best results out of Photoshop. The most talented artists will absolutely be able to get the best results out of this AI tool. It's a tool like Photoshop that will save vast amounts of time to produce flawless results. That's where it's going. What did you want to share, Oz?
Yes, I'm just showing you how it's so much easier than even using perspective. So let's say I wanted to do, I can just like, what's tool? So I'm just looking for the scraper tool. You can, so this literally just took 20 seconds just now. So you can leave what I'm doing now and I'll show you in like a minute's time.
All right. I'll show, go show my screen for a second, because
Graham, what do you use for your digital work?
So Graham, are you there, mate?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you use for your digital work? You on Photoshop or you use a tablet or what?
I use a tablet. I use Procreate.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So Graham, what you see on the screen here was the result I was able to get out of an AI conversion based on my sketch. And so have you seen anything like this before with the AI?
I have not. However, it's not the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing. You're right. It alters it a decent amount, but it still produces a result that's vastly better than what I was able to make on my own.
Who's to say? The one on the left is individual. The one on the left is personal. The one on the right is impersonal, and it might be maybe better rendered, but it lacks the personal, what's the word I'm looking for, style of the artist.
Yeah, but so for me, when people say my personal style, I interpret that as my imperfect style. That is like my goal would be to be able to overcome the flaws that create my personal style. If I could draw as well as what the AI did, I would take it in a heartbeat to be able to draw that level.
But then you need to work harder on your own skills.
But again, the other side to that is that I wouldn't be trying to make a career out of my art. I'm trying to make the best quality result of the concept idea I have. And so,
how are you defining quality? If you look at a drawing that Frank Miller did, it's not a wonderful drawing, but it's uniquely Frank Miller. If you put a Frank Miller drawing through an AI, you're going to get a Neil Adams picture out of it, which is what this is. This is your drawing done by Neil Adams.
Is it? Because I didn't tell it to follow Neil Adams.
Well, he just means that. He just means that
it's very Neil Adams face.
Is it? Yeah. I mean, to me, that's a great result.
You're losing your individuality. You're losing your cartooning ability. You're losing the ability to express yourself your way.
Well, really? Yeah, but to be fair, in the same token, if he's using digital, so you could say that, like, if he was doing it on a piece of paper on a canvas, well, he's losing that texture. He's losing that that feel and finish to the artwork. It's the same. How far down can you go with that? Taken to its fundamental level. You're losing your imagination because you have to render it in reality, and your skills aren't up to par. So, like, how far does it go? At the end of the day, what you put on the paper and you say, that's what I want, and I'm okay with that, I'm putting that out there, that's the finished result,
Mm-hmm.
I think you're sort of dividing the line between...
Put a Charles Schultz drawing in here and have AI redesign that. Is it peanuts? No.
So I get what you're saying. Like there is a type of personal style that people can become attached to. I'm not attached to my personal style because I see my style as very imperfect and flawed. Like if I could draw as well as Mike, yourself, J. Scott Campbell, I would take it in a heartbeat because to them, that's a far greater quality in terms of finish by far. And for the satisfaction of expressing myself artistically, the final result the AI was able to do has given me vastly more satisfaction and pleasure than this quality I was able to achieve on my own sketch. And
well, would it be fair to throw out there and say that this, at this stage, this enables people that can't do work at a professional level, whatever that style looks like, Graham, but can't do work at what they would consider a professional level, to stick this in here and then have it juiced up so that it looks like a professional, regardless of style. Okay, throw style out of it, right? So if you showed, and I'm not trying to be insulting or anything, Shad, so please don't.
Yeah, no, don't go ahead.
But if you take Shad's drawing on the left, right, and you show that to somebody that is not an art critic, just your average fan, right, and then you show them this one on the right, they're going to say, well, I like that one on the right better because, you know, the modeling or the face or whatever, the hair is more stylistically and cool. It does strip away your individuality as an artist. But if you're not happy with where you're at as an artist, then and like you're saying, you don't care. You just want it to look better, or maybe a better way to put it, more professional or more polished than what you're able to do with a pencil. Is that fair?
But in addition to that, right, I am not attached to my style because I feel my style is an amateur art style that isn't great and everything, but I don't feel it stripped away my individual artistic expression by any means, because this is still my character and my design. And I actually feel that the result, I chose the expression, I chose the pose, I chose the, like I said, the design as well, everything like that. And the result for me, when I look at that, I'm attached. I see my own handiwork in that as a result, and I feel it is part of my artistic expression, that it has my fingerprints per se, like all over it, and so I'm still very, very satisfied in terms of it feeling ownership over the result, because the AI, like I showed you the difficulty it was to get this result and how I needed to
because you were making choices to get it to this stage, and then you're the one who's approving this and saying, these are the choices I made and this is what it looks like, and I'm okaying that. So therefore, but see, that's the thing we talked about earlier was, are you going to be an animator that works old-fashioned Disney style where everything you've done it, your style is in there, or do you create something like Pixar where you're doing it all through commands, but you're still making choices for the computer, but the computer is doing this actual rendering and finishing of the work, right? So then it becomes, and I agree with what Graham's saying, because what this does is it opens the door. What people would argue is this opens the door for people that would not be able to do professional quality work. It now allows them to do professional quality work through the use of a computer, not through the use of their, I don't even want to say skill, because knowing how to work this and make it do what you want it to do is a skill. But it's a
different skill set.
It's a different skill set.
I think for Shad, it's very simply utilitarian, because Shad has a vision, but he doesn't have the skill set to follow through to a professional level. But he doesn't, at the same time, you know, every time he has an idea, he doesn't want to go hire an artist to. It's like, hey, take my sketch and take this to a full color or whatever, and then what do you get? You're like, oh yeah, but can you change this and this and this? But through that process, you're like, oh, I'm changing this, this, and this, and he's doing it as a utility to get to a point where he can take, say, this final piece, right, which isn't gonna be a cover or anything, but it will be like when he goes to do this comic book and he has a story Bible, which, because he's developed all the story and the writing and all that stuff, he also, to go with that, he has a design Bible that he can also give to whoever the artist says, this is how we move forward, right? This is
but that,
how
that's the thing,
I finally want to envision my project, and then hires an artist to do.
Right, but where it becomes contentious, is when this gets to a point, the technology gets to a point, like we talked about earlier, that you could actually, anybody could go in that knows how to use the computer. And again, like you said, there's going to be variances of how good the final product can be depending on the eye of the person who's doing the computer work, but then it allows.
Even in that case, I think it's going to be the rare individual, because Shad is an artist. He just doesn't want to develop the skill set because he doesn't enjoy the craft itself, but he's got that artistic mind to him. But a lot of people, they just don't. Most people don't know good art from bad. So you put this tool in the hands of most people, they're never going to get anywhere near what Shad.
It takes a lot of work.
It's not a question of somebody deciding what is good or what is bad, because you could say, again, Frank Miller is not a great draftsman, but he's a great storyteller. And if you put his drawings in here and smooth them out into this, it's not Frank Miller anymore. The same thing if you put any a humor cartoonist in here, it's not the same. That personality is lost. If you want that kind of stuff, develop the skills to create that stuff.
But what if people don't have the time? What if people don't have the time to develop those skills?
Well, then you don't have any business doing it. You have the time every day.
Hang on. Let's give an example.
Towards creating better skills.
I've tried for years since I've been a kid. Since I've been 5 years old, I've been trying to draw, and I've been awful. I'm not very good, nowhere near as good, and that's because I've been practicing wrong. But that's I have tried my entire life to be a good artist, and I have just failed at every turn. So. What about people like me, the retards?
You're reading the wrong books, Oz. You're reading the wrong books.
So that's really the question, right? Because it becomes who has the inherent skill to be a really good artist and who doesn't, and then those of us who say have the inherent skill to become professional artists the old-fashioned way, right? Then we look at someone. Say Oz, like you just self-admitted, you've just never been able to become you tried and you could never get your art to a level that you felt was competent or professional. So then now you find this tool that allows you to do that. Okay. So then guys like me and Graham are always going to say, and this is what we talked about earlier, well, that's kind of a shortcut. That's kind of cheating the system. But again, that comes from, you still, again, to my mind, and I don't like it. Don't get me wrong. I don't like it. But the reality is and we've seen it. I could give you comic artists, cover artists. I won't mention any names because I don't want to disparage anybody that use computers to do their work for them. And the fans love it. And I look at it and I'm disgusted by it. Right.
Yeah.
Because it feels artificial. It lacks a lot of personality and a variety of things, right? So it comes back to that old argument: is AI cheating, or is it just the next step in artistic technology that's coming, whether we like it or not?
Look at another field, like chefs. Chefs, professional chefs, they are still pissed at the use of a microwave. So and
well.
Yeah,
The microwaves do have limitations that it just
exactly just like Stable Diffusion does.
Well,
look, if you're coming at it and you're just fully admitting you're using AI to do stuff, and everybody knows it, like there's one artist that uses 3D models for I think his whole freaking book, and didn't tell anybody and won't admit to it, but it's like, bro, look at it. Every single face is exactly on model and exactly the same. Those are 3D models. You're freaking lying to your customer. That's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
That should be really.
Shouldn't artists be forced to reveal their workflow? I see what you mean, and I don't like there was a cartoon on Netflix that did the same thing from the people that made Avatar. They started using 3D models and then animating it on 2s, and it looked awful. The Dragon Prince, I think it was called. It looked disgusting compared to Avatar. But at the same time, I don't think, because you shouldn't be forced to show your process and how you create your compositions, and I don't think artists should be forced to do that.
Yeah,
no matter who
but
they
it's also a matter about being honest with the product, okay? Because there is going to be a premium behind the tag saying it's handmade or hand drawn, and and flogging off AI art as something that you hand drew is inherently dishonest, and it's trying to misrepresent your own talent of what you're able to do hand drawn. You have a different talent with AI, the program, and so I would say like you should never say it's hand drawn when it's not. That's completely dishonest. As to being forced to reveal how it's done, people have freedom for privacy, and so there's a whole nother can of worms on that one.
Shad, are we talking about comics?
Well, it's going towards there. Yeah, it's going towards there because, for instance, we can go back to how I relate it to myself, right? I have very medium artistic talent, and I don't have a desire to progress it further because I have other passions that I want to invest in to get to the highest quality possible. My writing primarily, and my drawing was always an expression of the stories that I was creating. And so having a tool that enables me, who has no interest now in becoming as skillful as you, as Aaron or Mike, having a tool that can concept and get my ideas to a far more professional standard. and I do feel objectively great, like higher quality in terms of how complexity, the detail, the composition, the coloring. Like I feel the AI has made a product that is in multiple levels superior in quality to what I'm able to make of myself. I find it a very incredibly useful tool. And honestly, it produces a work that is more satisfying for me as an individual artist. I actually have more pride in what the AI has made than versus what I drew myself, because I wanted the end result to look as good as possible. And it did require my own input to be able to reach that point. Now, in terms of the style thing, I think there's a very valid point for people who are able to draw at a very high standard, like you, Mike, and everything. And I don't think you would be in the same mindset as me, where you would be happy for the AI to replace your own style because you have that style and it's a selling point for your own quality and artwork and everything. For me, it's not a selling point at all. It's the style thing is I'm unattached to it, and so that's kind of.
Let me just interject here, because if we're talking about comics, which is what you've basically said we're talking about here. Style is irrelevant to the storytelling, and the AI is not helping you with the storytelling. So the artist is the storyteller. The writer, as a writer and artist, I tell my own stories. But if you're an artist and you have to tell a story visually and make it interesting, dynamic, and immersive. And regardless of the style that you choose, the storytelling is first and foremost. So the AI is not going to help you with that. It's only going to polish whatever is there. And
currently, absolutely
important. Okay, whatever, but it really isn't.
With the current technology, you're absolutely right. It very well might progress to a point where it can pick a phenomenal layout based on a story. Like the projections of what it's able to do, because you've heard of AI generated writing and storytelling.
Yep.
It's pretty garbage from what I've seen at the moment, but it's getting better and better. And the speed at which this is progressing, I think that you just kind of need to acknowledge that it very well could reach a point where an AI generated story could actually be a phenomenally well-written piece.
But AI stories are only based upon the collection of other great writers' stories.
That's the same with my own
writer stories.
That's the same with my stories. My story is only as good as it is because I've learned off of great other stories and writers. Like I emulate Brandon Sanderson, Robert Jordan, Margaret Weiss, Tracy Hickman, also Scott Card, and so those are the writers I learned from. And people have literally said this is a book that felt like it could have been written by Brandon Sanderson when they read my book, because I love his style, I love his world building, I love his magic systems, and because I love that's the kind of the stuff that I want to write as well. And so with the progress of the technology, it very well might get to a point where it can make very, very good layouts based on a story input. That's crazy for me. And I feel that's still a decent ways down the track at the moment. It
I
can't
bet you
do it.
that's only a couple years away.
You reckon that's only a couple
of
away?
years. No, guys, we're much closer because the text is just as people are working on tech stuff just as well as they are 2D artwork. So,
Well,
like we're basically on image to 3D model right now. That'll be within this this coming year.
So
we've already got it working.
I can give you some interesting perspectives on using AI writing as a writer, because as a writer, right, your rough drafts are rough. They're rough for a reason, and you need to go through multiple layers of review, cleaning up, finding poor sentence construction, reconstructing the sentence to make it flow and sound better, sending it to editors, paying for an editor and everything like that. If an AI can actually take my rough draft and find those poor sentence constructions and actually reword them so they sound more concise and convey the information and better, everything like that, that's actually a very intriguing use of AI-generated writing based on inputting your own work that I could see myself using in the future if it helps me save money and save time in having an AI. If it can edit my work to as good a quality or better than a hired editor, that's actually a really intriguing thing.
Edits my spelling every time.
Well, hang on a second though. Let me throw this out at you, Shad. You're not a professional artist, so the art is not something that is really super personal to you, right? You're okay with having the AI, but you are a writer, okay? And so if you write something, right, and then a computer program comes in and basically reworks it, and maybe you're even happy with how it does it, are you losing some of your, like, does it no longer become a personal statement by you, but then it becomes just a product you're trying to get out as quickly and efficiently as possible so you can get your paycheck? So it becomes a financial thing. Don't you lose some of your personal artistic expression by doing it that way?
It very much depends on the level of change. And so what we're seeing with the AI, say for the art, we can control how much it will follow the image input and how much freedom we give it to change it. And so in terms of writing, I would actually I'm actually very confident the technology would be that I could keep the changes it does very low. So its first kind of process of taking my draft and spitting it out would be to correct grammar. That's great. I would love it to correct all the grammar issues in there. And then maybe the next run through, I would say, let's focus on some poor sentence construction, because this is the thing, right? My editor, she points out, all right, this sentence is really bad. We could reword it this way. And oftentimes she gives me not always, because sometimes I disagree with her and I say, I would rather keep it the way it was. But other times her new sentence is just objectively better written and conveys it better. And I've said, yes, keep that change, keep that change, keep that change. And I don't feel like I lost any artistic merit or anything, because it does in the end produce a better work. Because the other thing is these small little sentence constructions doesn't change the overall pacing, doesn't change the flow, the characterization, the core main elements of what holds the story, makes the story, and actually gives the story its kind of individual feel based on when you choose to give a description or a background, basis on when you chose to have that integrate. If it was from first person perspective, it was shown. If it was given through narration by the narrator in the scene and everything like that, you could make it that the AI doesn't change any of those elements and just fixes up the sentences to make them sound better. I would actually be happy for it to do that completely, because all those very important individual elements that make this writing feel like it's from me, the characters, the pacing, how I deliver exposition, everything like that would be completely intact. And then it's just cleans up the errors in my sentence construction. I would be very happy with that.
But isn't that what an editor is for?
Yeah.
Yeah, but how many people hire editors?
Well, any writer should hire one.
Editors are
I think every writer should have an editor, but that's what I'm saying. How many?
By the way, I would still hire an editor on top of this, but if it can help me produce a better work, and because, by the way, I have a great editor, but having 5 editors is actually it will produce a better work than having one. But I didn't have the money to hire 5 editors. I had the money to hire one great editor, but having more editors' eyeballs on it would produce a better work. And if AI can help me save money and produce equivalent,
too many cooks in the kitchen, can spoil the broth. Like, Yeah,
I can see that, but in terms of editing and picking up things. But yeah, sorry, Aaron, go.
But I was to say, let's push this to its, its final conclusion 10, 15 years down the road, right? Where you have a company that says, all right, I can put out a comic book with fundamental storytelling, visual storytelling, Graham, not, it would be whatever the limitations of the AI that created, right? But there's going to be a certain sort of saccharine sort of feel to it, right? It's not going to have any sort of personality, but it's going to be competent storytelling. And the art is professional looking. But then Shad, then he types in, he doesn't need you anymore either, because the AI is going to generate a story for him, right? So then how do you feel about that? When you're now the guy that maybe, what are you good for now, right? What am I good for? They don't need me to draw the book anymore. Do they need someone to write it? I mean, how far does AI writing go?
Yeah. Well, my response to that is I would say more competition. And in terms of a writing perspective, I would say kind of challenge accepted, because I think I could produce a better quality than AI.
But if a company, let's just say it's Marvel, right? All they're worried about is their bottom line and pumping out crap, or even pumping out, just acceptable crap. Okay. And so then suddenly they don't need either one of us anymore. Right. So now you eliminate all these guys that are, really talented artists or really talented writers or both. And you've got companies that are just looking at the bottom line. And they don't give a rip about the artistic input, which you could argue they don't now, So, so now then we're back in the situation, actually, I guess we're all in right now, where we're independently producing this stuff because there's no other place to do it other than, so it gets kind of like the Terminator here eventually, where everybody's job gets taken and there's nothing left but these computer programmers who are doing
I think
everything.
what would save Marvel is if they had an AI take over as editor-in-chief.
So there's actually, I think there's a bit more complexity to that than the kind of image that you painted there, because say you have that situation where Marvel is got mediocre but acceptable stuff that it just churns out on volume. I think consumers generally gravitate towards quality, and if you are still able to produce something that has a true sense that this is made by someone who is really talented and is better than the AI, people would usually gravitate towards quality in a free market that can be achieved, right? And so I wouldn't necessarily see that as too much of a threat. The concern is then if it can produce stuff that is as good or perhaps even better than what people can make. Now, this is it can be a challenging discussion to have, because technology has done this to multiple industries. Look at the automation in factories and stuff like that. And in most cases, when technology is able to produce better quality stuff for less work, the general trend in past is that it has improved people's quality of life and access to certain things, and people have had to adapt. Now, I think hand-drawn art will always stay around, just like handmade crafts are around, even when you have factory-produced pottery and things, and that's always going to have a premium. That's going to be there. I don't think this will cause people to not want to practice their own skills, because Graham, I mentioned something before you came on. I did say that I actually don't have too much interest in developing my artistic ability. As a result, I haven't drawn much in the last year at all. But now that I have this AI tool that is able to take my ideas and concepts and produce it into what I find a far more satisfying professional standard. Yesterday, I drew 3 images in a setting I drew for maybe 3 to 4 hours straight. It's the most drawing I've done in a year or more. And as a result, this program is actually encouraging me to do more hand-drawn stuff, because it's a tool that I'm using to input my hand-drawn. And so it's actually been re-enthusing me in my hand-drawn art. And the more I draw, my skills will naturally evolve, hopefully get better, but I'm not going to focus on it. But it actually has, as a result, caused me to do more hand-drawn art that I wouldn't have otherwise. And so I actually don't think it's going to stop people wanting to develop their own skills, especially because of the input aspect. The fact that you can input your ideas and sketches and everything like that. And there's a level of it that I'd like to try and experiment with a bit later on is, for instance, having it do colors and not take away any of the personal artistic elements that you were talking about, that this is your sketch, it's your piece of work and everything like that. I think there's a really valid use that this will develop into to enable the AI to color it for you in a really high standard and keep all the personal elements.
I think what you're saying is that it's going to enable people that don't have the talent to do it to do the job for them. You know, if you feed the population shit long enough, they'll get to understand that that's the level that they want to rise to.
Well, and look at modern movies now.
AI stuff is feeding, you know, nonsense and garbage and no artistic creativity or individuality to it.
But Graham,
how so?
Feed enough people that, and that's what they accept.
But who says it's feeding? I'm just interested. Like, who says that it's feeding them crap though? Because
you're saying that on the right is better than the one on the left.
Yeah, I believe it is.
It is.
So that's a judgment. You're judging it. You're saying that your drawing is not as good as that one on the right. The other one on the right is better, maybe more skilled. But when you're telling a story as a writer, you ought to know this, that it's more about the personality than the finish.
Is it though?
That
I mean, like
everything.
I mean,
and
if
the one on the right is just more polished.
Are you sure? Because if I tried to say, if there were, you know, a comic book industry that was hiring everything, and I produced my work, which is on the left, compared to say a better artist like Mike, like yourself, like J. Scott Campbell, like all, you know, some of my favorites and everything like that. Of course, they're going to pick the better artists. I get what you're saying, that you feel that there's value in my one because it has my style, but even compared to other artists, it's not as good as other artists. And it wouldn't be considered a professional standard in terms of some of the best comic book stuff. And so, even on the same scale, wouldn't you acknowledge that the AI version is of higher quality? Like from an industry level.
Yes, but what I'm saying to you as a writer, if you're trying to get your story across, okay, and this is the best you can do is on the left, and you're not satisfied with that, hire an artist that can do it.
But
what if
why hire
people
an
don't have the
when
money?
He can just generate one, when he can just make it in any style from any artist that he wants for free.
Well, there's the other aspect. Like, I'm in a blessed position where I do have money to be able to work with great artists, right? But a lot of people don't have the money. And the other aspect of this is that this actually opens up accessibility for people to produce their art in a really great way that they would very rarely have the money or means to do. And the aspect that I can use, right? The money that I'm saving from hiring artists, by the way, I'm probably going to hire artists anyway to produce these characters and stuff. But the money I'm saving in this initial concepting phase is money I can reinvest to hire perhaps even more professional artists, more expensive artists, more artists to do more pages, produce more comic books and everything. It enables me to redirect the money I would have needed to spend on this thing to produce more stuff that could give more work to artists, and it's not necessarily replacing them. It's just putting them to work in a different area. Yeah,
Shad, time as well, because like, how long would it take an artist to do the one on the right? It would take a couple hours to do that, but he can generate a concept. He can generate 100 concepts of the same thing in a couple of minutes, and then send that to an artist. You know, or even not, he can just use Photoshop to put it together, and Photoshop is in itself its own skill, you know. So at the end of the day, I think what comes to where the line is the end result, where whoever the artist is, whatever medium they use, doesn't matter. What they say, this is what I'm putting out there, this is the finished result, here you go, guys, and now make your judgments on the finished result. That's the only thing that matters. Nothing else does.
I agree with that. The finished product is all that matters. It doesn't, you know, Shad had mentioned that it was disingenuous to say that I forget how you phrased it earlier on, that if it was hand drawn or computer generated or whatever, it's irrelevant. That's the wizard behind the curtain. Nobody needs to know that, because it's all going to be based upon the finished product.
There is that aspect, but it is a selling point, the handmade craft, though. I like that. that does
But
increase
you're
value.
arguing for not a handmade craft. You're arguing that it's okay to use this.
No, I'm saying but use both actually. Like for instance, in the concept one, it's saving me money and everything. But like I know I'll always be working with artists.
Hold on. You're saying in a concept like you'll do this drawing, then this drawing comes out, and that's the concept drawing.
This is a depiction of a concept that I can. Yeah, I could give this to artists and say, here is the design, and having a much more polished, finished, version that was professional.
Okay, that's a whole nother cup of tea. I thought you were saying that you were going to you were going to do the comic AI like this.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but we might eventually get to that point. That's down the road, right?
That is actually down the road.
But here's something that's more immediate, and I think
this
Oz
is your
brought it
model sheet, basically.
Yeah.
This is the model sheet you give the artist that's going to be drawing.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, I'm out.
Well, no, I mean, Graham, your arguments are totally legitimate, but the technology isn't there yet. It becomes an argument that maybe 10 years from now or 5 years from now or 2 years from now, it might actually be a legitimate argument because they will be able to do it.
That's why I was still engaging with it, because it is an actual very important discussion that needs to happen for where this technology is going.
The closest thing that we have right now, and I think Oz brought this up a little earlier, was film, right? Where you had practical effects guys that are completely out of work now because everything is CGI. Well, not everything, but most stuff is CGI. There's still stuff that makes more sense to be practical, but you've cut down these the special effects makeup artists, probably by 2/3 of what used to be, 20, 30 before Jurassic Park basically came on the scene. And the same thing with toys and statues, right? You used to have to hire a sculptor to go in and sculpt the toy for you, right? Now it's all done on computer, right? So it's a totally different guy who's saying, well, I don't have the skill to sculpt with clay or whatever, but I do have the computer skill to make this. It's cheaper, it's faster. And so, but then you go and ask the sculptor, how do you feel right now? If he couldn't transition, is that just, hey, that's the way it goes, man?
I mean, it's 3D and it's on the computer, but it's still sculpting. But
it's a different type of sculpting. You're basically you're giving the commands, and I get that. And there's you have to have an artistic eye, and you have to have an intelligence and an understanding of how to make that tool work.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that you've got a guy who sculpts for his living, as for the last, Randy Bowen or somebody that did all the Marvel busts and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, maybe he does digital stuff now. I don't know. But let's just say that now you've got a bunch of guys that couldn't do it the old-fashioned way because it required a certain amount of a skill set that either maybe you have or you don't have, no matter how hard you develop it. But once you have an understanding of a computer program and how to do it, you have enough skill, at least with the eye. You may not get the message from your head to your hands to create a sculpture, but you can get the message from your head to the computer to create a sculpture, right? Yeah. And so now this guy that's, was this terrific, talented sculptor, other than the fine art market, he has no place in the business world because all this stuff has gone to computers, to other people that, came up and learned it all on the computer and never toiled with real clay and stuff. And I mean, that's a reality that's happened right now. And I don't know any sculptor, but I'd love to ask them how they feel about it.
This is why we should have had Jazza on, because Jazza has worked with clay. He's done sculpting too, and I've watched a lot of his videos. The sculptor is at mercy of how long the clay is going to last, the temperature, the weather, his environment, and gravity. He's at the mercy of all these things, like because the clay has weight, it will slop off. If it, but a 3D artist isn't at the mercy of any of those things apart from is the power working, so like. And is my computer powerful enough? Like we all, as artists, and we're all a form of artist here. I'm a smart ass comedian who's tried to do all different forms of art. So is Shad. And you guys are actual like leading edge comic book art or just artists in general for the 2D medium. At the end of the day, the tool has its own limitations. Every tool has its own limitation. You're limited by how much time you can use and what medium you use and all that sort of stuff. And your own, we're all limited by our own lifespan, but every tool we use has its own drawbacks and pros and cons and all that. At the end of the day, that's why I think the fundamental principle for whether it is good art is what you put out, like how it looks. You've said this is a finished piece.
Right.
Does it look
No,
good?
I agree with that too. I'm trying to separate where we sort of lose it as old artists, where you kind of get this sort of it kind of ticks you off, when you sit there and say this guy's doing it on computer because he can't do it the old-fashioned way, right? But is that even a legitimate argument anymore?
Well, Mike uses computer to do his drawings and his paintings.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's what I say. Is it just the next evolution of art, and we just got to accept it? And
well, that's
even
funny. Elliot was talking the other day about how he saw this kid who, like, he drew like fantastic, but it was all digital. And then, like, when it came to like drawing on paper, he couldn't draw.
Right.
Like, there was like,
and I've seen that my entire life, and I find it interesting because you take a certain amount of pride as being, let's just say that, like Graham, me, Mike, we're craftsmen. Okay. We're old school craftsmen, and we take a certain amount of pride in being able to do it this way. And now everything's changed. Right. And so now it allows people that could never do it our way
instead of real tools, which is something that we go,
you know what?
On all the
okay.
time.
We're going to, yeah. So, but you know what I'm saying? And so it's like, is it for us to get it through our heads that this is a valid artistic expression is difficult.
Well, valid. Like the valid is I am like any person who says, I want to create a concept, I want to put it into reality. And the concept is for the sake of the reason that I'm doing this is for the sake of the concept. That is,
well, art.
I get what you're saying.
In the eye of the beholder, and validity is also in the eye of the beholder.
I can see what Aaron is saying there. That for a traditional artist, it might be a bit harder for them to try and see that as a legitimate expression. Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I'm saying that's how I see things, and I'm like, I want to get to I want to get to a point where am I seeing things clearly? You know what I mean? Do I need to accept computer and technology as this is just the next step in art evolution, whether I like it or not? And it doesn't necessarily invalidate you guys that are doing it with a computer as opposed to us that are doing it with a brush or a marker.
Yeah. Well, look, man, I mean, I get on you about the marker thing because I know you have the skills to use the proper tools, Aaron. But it's like it's the same thing. Dude, when people started inking digitally, I freaking hated the idea. And now I'm inking digitally, right? But we're going to move on to this. I want to see that flat get colored because I would be more than happy to use an AI colorist because I've had to fire 4 freaking colorists on my latest book, and I'm sick of having to put up with that. And frankly, the AI colors better than most professional colorists. And
I wonder if that's because we've become digital colorists, right? That we've just sort of evolved into that and accepted that, right? So now it's kind of like, well, I don't care who's doing it. It's coming from a computer anyway. So you know what I mean? And so it's like we've accepted if everything was hand colored up until right now, and then you're dropping this Photoshop stuff on me, I would probably be resistant and say, no, yeah, it looks cool and shiny, but where's the personality? Where's the artistic interpretation? But now we're to a point where we accept computer coloring as a tool.
It's been over 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's kind of integrated. So now we're sort of okay with it.
But here's the thing. I would legitimately like if I had the same colorist and I handed him my stuff and he turned around and kicked back coloring that looked like this, charged me the same amount of money, and then said, oh, by the way, I did that with an AI, I'd be like, I don't care.
Right. That I would be too. Graham, you were going to say something about it.
Yeah, I was going to say that computer coloring isn't the problem. It's the lack of color theory that is being used to apply it.
But that's the thing. You can't get these results unless you know the technical words to use. You know, you can get. I mean, you can, but it's chance.
The AI very well. The AI very well could learn that technical color theory to get as equivalent results.
No, but that's the thing.
I think that AI does better color
scanning
theory
of
than
the
most
internet.
professional colorists.
The problem with computer coloring is that the artists that use it, they model everything. What we see here as an individual drawing is fine. It's all modeled and it looks great. Now you put layers behind that. You put different planes behind that, and then you start to model everything in the middle ground, the foreground, and the background, and then everything becomes mud and everything becomes flattened. Without color theory, to utilize warm and cool colors to bring things forward and back, and not separating planes. What happens is that you get modern day comics where everything is a mud fest and everything is flat. You know, even when you had the limitations of the dot pattern colors in comics, they used to do what they called knockouts, where you would have you know, you're using relatively flat colors, but the artists were using color theory to separate forms and separate planes, so that the clarity of the storytelling was very strong. And you could use color to also accentuate emotion. You know, red colors, you know, on figures that were angry or something like that, for example, or warm colors bringing things forward and cool colors putting things in the background to separate different forms. That's what's missing in the traditional coloring, or the coloring that's being done in comics today.
Yeah.
Get rid of the negative prompts too, Shad.
Yeah.
Can I just something as well, because I want to chime in on some things that have been said. So I come more from like a video games background, and one of the things I'm thinking of looking at this sort of AI stuff is I think we're going to start seeing, like you've all been saying, you know, that there isn't that ability for the artist to go in as much and critique things, to change things, and to really manipulate it. What I see, for example, with me making video games, the art tools that I use, that they start off very primitive, very program-based, the computer doing all the work. And I see as things develop more and more, they get more accustomed to what the artist needs. So we're saying before with, you know, the potters, with sculpting, you know, digital sculpting has become a lot more realistic in a sense, digitally, as time has progressed. And so I think right now with AI art, it's just writing prompts and, you know, using these modules. But I think one of the developments we're gonna have to see is, you know, the ability to draw certain lines, so like for another layer of complexity, so that the artists who want to use this properly can actually go in and change those things.
Well, that's why I think artists should relax and actually realize that this is beneficial to them, because you guys know all the technical words to use. And I said this before, you guys know the words like rim lighting, perspective, 3-point perspective, 4-point perspective, value, different names for values. You can get things done so much quicker. You want a concept for a character, you know exactly the sort of words for anatomy, for, you know, all that sort of stuff. You can generate it and you can make the fixes, and you can get stuff done so much quicker and only correct things. You know, I don't know why. I get why you're freaking out, because, you know, it might lose a bit of the artistry, but you can either use it or you can lose it, you know? So.
Well, I was trying to think of, and this is maybe the last point I want to end on the discussion before we experiment with doing colors. And when we experiment to doing the colors on one of Mike's drawings, I think you'll be put at ease that it's not an easy process yet, and the technology needs to develop. And I don't think you need to worry right now, but it probably will develop into what we saying it could do pretty soon. And
I just think using it in addition, like for backgrounds or whatever, I think that's is the ideal use of this technology for modern, real artists.
There is the reality that this technology is very likely going to progress to a point where it can make flawless art with very simple, basic prompts. It can just take a sketch that I put in, and without the trouble and problems that I go through, can get that finished result much easier. And I was trying to think, okay, so what place will the artists have in that world in the future? What will they be able to do that the AI can't? And I think there is something that it will be able to do. And it's exactly what Graham was actually mentioning, okay? And it is the artistic style. You see, the AI learns off of what people have made previous, okay? And so for an individual who can draw to that same quality of level in terms of detail, correct anatomy, dynamic pose, and everything like that, right? They are going to have an individual style that perhaps the AI doesn't know how to learn, doesn't know how to replicate, anything like that. And that will be a selling point for them. Like, no one will be able to do J. Scott Campbell as good as J. Scott Campbell. I don't think the AI will not be able to replicate it as well. It'll be able to make some pretty good, darn good stuff. But I think the value proposition that artists will have their own distinctive style that's attached to it. For some people and for many consumers, perhaps that won't be a care or worry. They'll just say, give me something that is still good, and I'll be happy with it. But I do think there is that stylistic argument that exists there, that the AI, it doesn't seem to be able to create new styles. It learns from pre-existing styles. And so,
well, actually, you can mix the styles.
You
together.
can mix the styles. That's true.
And that's what people have been doing. Sam does art, mix that with Arcane, mix that with Elden Ring, and they make a new thing from those three. And you can actually kind of identify each style in that.
Yeah. And what I was saying in terms of the value of the style, I think you would have value in the style if your drawing ability is at a proper professional level that you could say can be judged objectively to be as equivalently as good as what the AI is able to make, or even better. And then the thing that you have on top of that is your own style. For someone who is not as good as a professional in terms of just hand-drawn art, I don't think the style is enough selling point to justify the better anatomy, composition, coloring, faces that the AI is able to do. It's too... it's too much of an unbalanced scale. But if I was able to say, get my drawing to a level where it was equivalent, then maybe my own style could make it more valuable on top of that. But I don't have a particular interest in developing that because I'm more passionate in writing. And there is the argument that there are some people who, as hard as they try, just are unable to get that good.
And speaking about accessibility,
I disagree with that.
You think anyone could get that like professional level with enough trying?
Yeah, I think because it's a skill. I believe talent is the speed at which you learn skills.
But on the topic of that,
I do think that anyone can
you
learn.
would agree that it comes more naturally and easier to some people and harder to others. Would you agree with that at least?
Oh, absolutely.
I totally disagree with Mike.
Oh yeah.
I've had this fight before recently about inherent ability and learned skill. I think we all have inherent abilities, but there's different ceilings for different people. And I don't care how hard you work, you're only going to get to what ability, you're going to be maximize the ability that you're born with. And I don't think that,
I don't know, man. Back in the
old days, someone is born without hands.
Learning how to be an artist used to be like taught to every freaking girl in high society.
Yeah, but you learn.
No matter whose family you came from or what talent you had to learn how to be an artist.
Technique, but there's this intrinsic ability. Your ability, Mike, to get what's up here into your hand and onto the paper varies from person to person.
I know.
And no matter how hard you work at it, you're not going to be as good as Rosetta or something like that, right?
Yeah, I was going to say Rosetta too.
because he has a unique way of translating that information that he sees with his eyes into his hands and onto the paper. And we're all different in that regard. And some people, their work is just going to have more public appeal, more mass appeal. People say, I like that better than Mike.
I'm saying that with enough time and dedication, anyone can learn the skills to get to a quote unquote professional level.
What about people without hands?
I still don't agree with that.
You know what, Mike? I will never
seen some of the stuff that Marvel has published. That's professional level, Aaron.
Well, okay. Well,
it depends on what bar you put the
center fielder. I'll never be the center fielder for the New York Yankees. I was a decent baseball player, but as hard as I worked, I was never going to be the center fielder for the Yankees. I mean, I don't care how hard I work.
And I'll never be Frank Frazetta. That's just, but
I would agree that there's definitely caps in skills based on individual capacity and ability. I think people can improve anyone can improve with practice, but as to how good they can get, I think there is a bit of a cap.
Yeah, but what about people who physically can't?
Well, then there's that as well. Yeah.
Like they got nubs.
But also,
fingers
they're just missing. They're born without them. But speaking about accessibility,
seen people paint with their mouths.
Yeah, but still, we'll never get to the amount of skill that you guys are. But speaking about accessibility, which is what we're really boiling it down to.
Think about it. Graham had a good point. He said, then just get another job, right? Because if you had society, and I mean, let's face it, if you asked everybody what they would like to do, the grass is always greener, right? Oh man, I wish I could draw like you can, or I wish I could do this, or I wish I could do that. Well, the fact of the matter is we all can't. So that gives us this sort of, and I'm not saying one is better than the other, but it gives us this diverse society that we have multiplicity of jobs that need to be done or that can be done by a variety of people, right?
And that's trying to hit certain. I've been trying to say this for the past like 10 minutes. Is that think about the ratio of farmers to artists 500 years ago. Now think about the ratio to farmers to artists now. You know, the amount of farmers that there were. Shad, you're about 500 years ago. You know that was an era that existed. How many? Yeah, that's kind of your gig. How many farmers to artists? What's the ratio? Do you think 500 years ago?
Obviously, like I was just trying to get the exact date right. So you're looking at the 16th, 17th, 16th century. Everyone needed to be a farmer, basically. Most people needed to be a farmer. It was a luxury.
Basically, everyone needed to make food. Now it's a tiny percentage of the population. I'd argue there might even be more artists than farmers today. You know, certainly not food production, but farmers specifically, right? People toiling the field with their machines and tractors. Mm-hmm. You know, back in the day, it was hoes and stuff.
But there's also more outlets for art. You know what I mean? It used to be, can you paint as good as Rembrandt? You know, now it's like you can be a comic book artist. You can be, there's no newspaper strips anymore, but there used to be, you could do newspaper cartooning. You could do, there's different levels of it, right? So like Charles Schultz, you know, maybe Peanuts is as I don't know what kind of an artist he was beyond that, but maybe let's just say hypothetically that's as far as he could go. That's what he was able to capture, that sort of, you know, something that worked there in cartooning, but he couldn't draw a comic book, right? Or, you know, maybe Jack Kirby could never have been a portrait artist, you know what I mean? But there's different levels. Back then there wasn't. There was like, you got to be able to find some royal person with a lot of money to pay you to do portraits of them, or you're pretty much screwed. So that, you know, more opportunity obviously you're going to see people with artistic ability are going to move to.
Well, people actually put art into the books and tomes that they worked on. You know, people in Rome, they had it painted on the walls in their homes. They used tiles and have it in the street, and we still have surviving beautiful tiling of pictures depicted to this day being found in Rome. You know, also in the same. Oh, go on, Mike. Go on.
My buddy Oli ran that little stupid sketch I did on Procreate through AI. Look what it came up with.
Nathan, if you could. Is that the AI result?
Well, I've actually done the same thing. I've done the same thing while we were all talking as well. I did some sketches, and in fact, I'll generate a bunch. I did some like little value sketch. It's got a bit of texture.
You know, this is the thing, right? Wow, I find this conversation so intriguing, and I want to keep going. I could talk for 4 more hours on this, but we don't have that time, unfortunately. I'd love to pick it up again because there's so many sides to this that we haven't even touched on. That I wanted to talk about, you know, speed in terms of the simple kind of like comic book, you know, like, you know, the comedic type like Peanuts and stuff. It's so simple that a talented artist might be able to sketch that out quicker than it takes to write in the prompt to get the exact composition and positioning that you want. And as a result, probably won't be able to outcompete that. But there are so many aspects to it. Did you have something to say, Graham? Sorry, it looked like you were...
my internet seems to be crapping out. Everybody seems to be freezing on me.
It's snow. It's all that snow you're getting right now.
Yeah, that could be.
But let's show you some of the possibilities into and I think we're going to actually see more of the limitations and issues, and it'll take longer to get a finished result. But I have inputted just a flat kind of cell coloring of one of Mike's pictures of Dalen, right? And so that's in there, and it's just a test to see what it could do in terms of coloring it. And what results we can get out of it. So at the moment, these 2 scales here is what gives the AI how much freedom I'm allowing it to modify the design. And if I give it too much freedom, it'll actually start to alter the design completely. And the way to keep it is like if I did holding sword, flying towards viewer, stuff like that. that would like make it more stay to a specific prompt. But if we just generate it based on this, input and see what it churns out,
Are we seeing
it'll
something?
be.
Because I'm not seeing it.
Hey, can you guys see this? Is that on screen?
I'm seeing it.
That didn't do nothing.
Yeah,
it did
so
something,
I'm
and it's
seeing
not
anything.
great.
I'm seeing the castle.
It's up
focus.
for everyone else. That is me.
That's your
It's-
backdrop that you're not seeing the
Are
screen.
you on
there?
StreamYard or YouTube?
I'm on StreamYard. It's on.
No,
it's
no, no,
appearing
Graham.
on. Oh, great.
I'm on
It's-
the StreamYard link that you guys sent me.
Oh, that's
Well,
weird.
hang on.
That you
Let's,
sent me.
it's appearing on the video on YouTube. I'll take it down and put it back up. Has
Hey,
it
hey,
appeared?
Shad.
I'm having problems with my internet right now. I think,
It might be that.
like I said, you guys are starting to freeze up on me, and
Shad,
Dang it.
swap
I'm not
over
seeing
to
it.
Comic Diffusion. You're on Modi.
Oh, that's right. Thanks. Yeah.
And also, try to focus on the art style itself. So put in rim lighting, hard shadows, sharp focus, smooth, inked
Yeah.
as well.
I have masterpiece, atmospheric scene, digital painting, smooth, sharp focus, 4K eyes, detailed face, hard shadows, bloom, vivid color, perfect anatomy, 8K eyes, digital face,
But
4K hands.
you're going for comic book, aren't you? So put in things
Yeah,
like
I'm going
inked,
for comic book.
rim lighting, shiny might help as well.
Rim lighting.
And put the artistic ones before basically everything else, after masterpiece, and put the artists at the end.
Well, hang on. Let me just see what it produces with this. And this is with low. And because I didn't get rid of the external lines outside of it, it's reinterpreting them. That's interesting, but I still
I'm
don't
going
like
to
it's
bounce,
messed up.
guys. I can't see anything.
Okay. But hey, Graham,
Hey, thanks for
thank
coming
you
on,
so
man.
much
Sorry,
for joining
guys.
us. And man, I really appreciate your sharing your perspective
Sorry
on
about
the
the
AI.
problems here.
No worries. Dude.
Everyone,
Have a
just
great night,
subscribe to
everybody.
Graham Nolan on YouTube, please. Thank you.
See you
And
guys.
does Graham have any active campaigns up that we should
Yeah.
mention? Like,
Yeah. You want to bring that up?
Yeah, absolutely. If you could share it on your
I
screen,
probably
Mike, and
won't
then
be
we'll
able
share
to
it.
see it.
Hold on a second.
Well, as long as everybody else can, Graham, that's all that matters.
It's on.
Yeah, that's
IMDb.
true. That's true.
Oh wait,
I
it's not.
appreciate it. So
Is it?
I'm going
Oh,
to
it's
bounce
hidden.
and let you guys go.
It's
All
like,
right.
Graham, can you stick the link in the private chat before you go? Because it's your shadow man.
Oh yeah, I'm shadow banned.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
So we need
he's
the
using
link.
he's using the internet to crowdfund. Wow, he's not going around with a cup. I can't believe it. That's ridiculous, man. That's not real crowdfunding.
Touche.
I'm willing to use a cup.
Do the hard work. Get out there. Sit on the sidewalk right now.
All right.
There we
All right,
go.
there's the-
It's in the private
there's the
chat,
link.
guys.
It's in the private chat, Mike.
Yeah, I'm gonna drag it over here.
Yeah.
And then share my screen.
I actually sent it twice because the first one didn't show up because my internet is fucked.
Well, Graham,
Hey, how
we can
convenient
hear
is this
you.
way?
So if you want to give a pitch on Matakumba Key, go ahead.
I'm not gonna even try because I can't see anything and I can't hear anything. So I'm just gonna leave it up to you guys.
All right,
I'll
let me grab
see
the
ya.
link.
Have a great night, everybody.
All right.
Thanks,
Graham.
Graham.
See you, man.
Appreciate you joining.
The
So this is
of
Graham
Matakumba
Nolan's
Key.
Ghost of Matakumba Key. I'll just play the video real quick and
Yeah.
Oh wait, shoot, I didn't. Hold on.
Mike, you're pushing technology and then you do this.
Yeah, forget it. I didn't share the audio. So, anyways, Graham Nolan, legendary comic book artist, obviously the man who created Bane and broke the Batman's back.
Can't believe I got to meet him.
Gosh, this is not downloading at all. What the heck?
Yeah.
Anyway,
We're
it's
seeing it.
awesome. Go get it. I know, but
It's great.
oh, there's a black
Man,
and white.
it has that old school pulp feel to it, like
Yeah.
the horror comic
That,
and stuff.
that black and white is a glow in the dark cover, which is pretty cool. That's the one
Oh.
that I took.
Very nice.
A lot of Graham's stuff is very sort of kind of feels like old school horror films or sci-fi films. This particular one, he's got kind of an amalgam of a detective story and horror aspects to it. And this is his third project. The first one was the Chenu which was kind of a Bigfoot type thing. And then there was Alien Alamo, which is really kind of a 50s sci-fi alien invasion type story. And this is more of a detective horror story. But this is the one that ties all three of them together sort of in his Nolan verse. So, and I believe all the back issues are
Kelly
available.
Jones cover. Kelly
Yeah.
Jones, another legendary Batman artist.
So there's a variety of cover options as well as T-shirts and other things he's got on there that are pretty cool. So that he just released that as a black and white cover. I think the whole comic is going to be in black and white with gray tones, so you can get that as an option as well, which is kind of cool.
Excellent.
Awesome, guys. So link in the comments and check it out. Yeah, it looks really cool. And we really appreciate Graham joining us. And so we're going to finish off the stream just playing a little around, not too long, but just see what I can do. Because already, for me, right, it's changed the design too much. So there needs to be a new kind of training model for Stable Diffusion, which basically says only do colors.
Hang on a second. So what I'm not sure. It looks the same to me. What did it change?
All right. Can you, it's hard to zoom in on this unless I save it, but it's changed the face. Do you see the face and the hair?
Yeah.
Open a new tab. Open it in a new tab. Right click, open a new tab, the picture. Click on it like you had it open.
Okay, here we go. Yeah. And so, do you see it's mutated the hand already?
Yeah.
And for us to try and have this do really good coloring work with lots of gradients and highlights and everything, I need to give it more freedom. But even with the restricted freedom it has, it's already changed the design too much for me to be satisfied. It's like, no, basically you need an option where it says, do not touch the line work and only do colors. And I think the technology is actually, it would be able to do it even with current technology and the current algorithm it works on. It just needs the right model and kind of training to be able to do that. Because if I give it more freedom to add more color, watch what it'll do. It'll start to mutate this pretty significantly.
But that's mainly because of the pose itself. The image needs to know what it's looking at. And because that's a very unique pose, it's not 100% sure what it's doing.
Yeah.
Did an interesting thing with the face, but wow, look at the hand.
Well,
see, that's what I'm saying.
What the heck happened?
The meat grinder.
Yeah, like look at the hand.
Spider-Man in there. You can see it's.
It is interesting that it takes these shapes and doesn't understand that it's a hand. Like you said, the anatomy's not built in, so it's extrapolating, which is basically just a shape that it has no context for.
Yeah,
and
it's alien in the multiverse of madness.
So if I was trying to construct, because I could try and get a finish at work, like something that looks good. Like I could take the face from that and add it to the compiled kind of end of one. And so it would be possible, but I would need to go through as many steps as I do with my other images. And we're talking like a good 4 to 6 hours work of, and so, because what I would do ones like this, like the face isn't bad, honestly. Do you see the face here? Like it's got decent coloring on it. And there's workable stuff there. And so what I would do then,
your flat colors though, right?
Yes, this is the flat
colors, right?
These are the flat colors, and that's what it's spitting out. And that's with this level of freedom, and it's not a lot of freedom. If I chuck the freedom back down, right, it will not give the right detail in the coloring, but it will keep the design more the same. See what it's done here? You see this?
Mm-hmm.
So there is another setting I can do. So usually if I keep the diagnosing strength low, it won't change the design too much. But if I put up the FCG scale, it will do more dynamic coloring. So let's see what it will do, going pretty heavy on one scale and pretty low on another. That's not bad.
Is there control to say, like, if let's say the red is too dark and you want that much lighter, or maybe you want it maybe a little bit orange, can you type that in directly, or do you have to keep fooling around with it until it gets what you want?
You can.
Yeah, but it's not specific.
You want to turn off in settings. You want to turn off the color correct, or instead turn on the option that says save a non-color corrected image before the color correction, and you can actually put in what would you put in? What are the like
Well,
low contrast?
that's the thing, because like unless you can tell it the exact color you want, you couldn't really specify the new color through text, could you? Unless you like
you could.
have the
You probably could.
RGB scale or something.
No, just turn on like low contrast, low saturation. Try typing that in and see what happens. And also, you'll need to go into settings to turn off color correct. If
Oh, hey, this might be
Could
the best one.
Could you stick a black and white drawing in there and just say color this and see
yeah,
what it does?
You can. I haven't done that exactly, but I've generated a silhouette, just a black silhouette of a character standing, and then I put that into that thing and said, okay, turn this into a cyberpunk warrior. Now, at first, what happened is, sure, it made a cyberpunk warrior, but then it color corrected it to be grayscale, and so I got rid of that option, and then it gave me color and everything like that. Oh. But what you could do is there's a thing called,
this one isn't bad. Do you see this one?
Yeah. Shad, a fix for this would be it's called in painting. So you're doing image to image, right? But there's a tab. Go back to it. Okay. Why is
my stable diffusion? There, it's back.
Okay, so click on the in paint tab. You see down there's image to image, and then there's in paint on the left.
Yeah. So do you want me to just load up this one in InPaint? Or
yeah, and so what you can do is if you scroll down, do you see how it says draw mask underneath mask blur? It says draw mask and upload mask. What you could do, and this might work, it might not, is you could go into the finished art, not the finished artwork, but the flat of that, get the actual drawing of it, not the colors, but the drawing layer, turn that into a PNG, and then upload it as a mask and say, don't edit anything that's within the masked area, which will just be the line work. Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Kind of.
So
you would need to.
Okay,
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
there you go. Now he's got it.
So yeah, you could select it to not touch the line work, and wow,
exactly,
that might work, Oz.
Give it a go.
I don't know how to do that.
We'll just get the line work without any of the colors and make it a PNG, so there's a transparent background. So can you get Mike? Can you get us a transparent line work of this piece in the exact same size and format? But yeah, transparent background.
Be able to.
So
it might take too much time because I need to sign into Photoshop and things. But that we could try and do that on another stream, maybe. I don't know, because I don't have that. It'll take me maybe 10 minutes to get that. Just only line work with transparent background, but that would do the exact thing. So it wouldn't touch the line work, and then it fills in the rest.
Yep. And also, can you scroll up to the top of your page so I can see it? No, just on the same thing. Just scroll up. Oh, okay. So there's an option which you don't have on your thing at the moment, but you can get it. It's a basic thing. It's called in painting condition mask strength. So it's kind of similar to denoising, except it's more of a fine tuning thing. And so it's specifically for in painting. It's basically used for making one picture a different art style. And so that would help a lot with you generating the things, the colors as well, and the lighting and everything. You should get that turned on.
There's interesting possibilities where it's at now, but it's still a lot of work. I think that Alice's option might be better, but I feel the technology will be progressing pretty fast that it could actually develop something like that and integrate it a lot easier. But what it's doing now isn't honestly terrible. If I'm giving it a lot of freedom in terms of one of the scales and not a lot of freedom on the other. And
what if you had a specific light source? Let's say he's jumping over
if you could specify
a lava pit with underlighting or something. Can you do that at this point, or is it not able to do that?
Well, that's the thing. If you're going to do something like you could generate a concept of that easily, really quickly. Man jumping over lava ground, rim lighting lit from below, view from above, easy, right? And you would see everything like that. But if you want to be specific about it, if you have a character in mind, an exact pose that you want, you'd be better off going into Blender, posing something, putting a light source down below, taking a picture, moving it over. And then from there, if you want to change the lighting, just go back into Blender, move the light source or make it brighter. And, it's like this back and forth, a ping pong game of make it here, send it to diffusion, send it back, back and forth. Yeah,
it makes you wonder. There's so many subtle variances to things you can do to art. It makes you wonder if for our purposes, for comic books, for example, if it's ever going to be fast enough to warrant widespread use, because just like I said, it's like if you just want a generic color job, like that looks nice, right? But now I want a specific lighting source, and now I want you start bringing, like you said, rim lighting and things like that to for a particular scene. It just seems like there's so many little variances like that when you're doing a story that can change from just panel to panel, let alone page to page, that it just seems so, and it seems so complex. I wonder if, eventually it'll get there, I suppose, because it always does, but it seems like that's a lot of decisions that have to be made very quickly.
There are some tools. Like if someone was to develop a model or a version of Stable Diffusion specifically for coloring stuff, there would be some almost, I feel, essential tools that would be really important. For instance, picking light direction, light source would be great. And if you could add like multiple light sources, that would be awesome.
Yes.
Being able to tell this is foreground, this is background, okay? And then even being able to specify a type of color or specific things like that. That would be like absolutely brilliant. It's not there yet.
Can I demonstrate something? If you can look at my screen, and let me know when you've got me up.
Yep, you're up.
Okay, so I'm up. So this is
that's
Blender.
Your silhouette.
No. This is just a 3D model of a character, and this is in Blender in render mode. So let me get a light source and illuminate this a bit and mess with the lighting so it's a bit brighter. Turn it up. And I'll generate it so I can get different lighting. Okay, so and I can also pose this. We select the thing, go into pose mode, and just I can move it around in whatever pose I want. Have the guy looking over. And okay, so let's say I want that. I'll hide the thing. Now I can just take a screenshot, or I can actually render it. I'm just going to take a screenshot because we don't really have time. So I'm going to use this, grab that. I have that now. Okay, I can open up this. And by the way, this is the thing I was working with before. I just used this little basic model to generate all of these different castles.
Oh, man.
I know, right? Can I? Oh, yeah, I can just Control V that. So
see, that castle background based on that input is just phenomenal.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I'm going to open this in, let's use Comic Diffusion V2, Masterpiece, highest detail.
The problem in a comic though is that when you have a background, you have to have the same background. So you'd really need a 3D model.
Yeah,
exactly. But that's exactly what I'm doing here. I just found this on the internet for free. You can get thousands of Spider-Man models, Batman models, Super Soldier models, anything. Highest detail, comic art. I don't know, science fiction, super soldier, space marine artwork, comic style. And we'll do I guess we'll just try that because it's a comic thing. Now I'll probably need to mess with it a bit. Oh, I do need to mess with it actually because I've got the wrong
yeah, but that looks neat.
Yeah, let me just mess with this quickly. You got to get the correct size and stuff like that. But you see what I mean? And this is all changeable, just like Shad was doing before, and it's generating 10 of them. Oops, let's interrupt that. I'll make one. I'll take the denoising down to, let's try 20, which is still a bit too much. And that should be good. Let's try that. See? And it's making a, and I can put more things in like hard lighting, hard shadows, high contrast, atmospheric, and I'm doing them all in the wrong order, and there's no background, but you see it's turning it into a more artistic sort of vibe, and that's by adding imperfections. This is the more or less,
that's the model.
That's the model. That's closer to photorealistic than this one is, but this one is more interesting to look at, from a distance.
Yeah, that would actually be fun to ink.
Yeah, and so that's my And
what's interesting, what people could do with the current level where it's at is they could get a 3D model of a character if it's their own design, pose it however they want for whatever panel that they wanted on their comic book, then render it out in a more artistic hand-drawn style to get it to match.
Yeah, but realistically, that always looks. It's been done time and time again. It always looks really stiff.
But yeah,
I agree, actually. And I find the fact that artists can choose to suddenly kind of skew anatomy, like for if they wanted like a foreground punching thing, you can warp the anatomy of the drawing to make it really dynamic and stuff, where 3D models have that. They can't really do that. I completely agree. And I feel the artistic ability to compose a comic book panel with where the panels you want, choosing the specific pose that you want for the character and stuff. An artist will be outpacing the AI for a good while yet. It's going to take a long time for the AI to be able to match the artistic choices that an artist like you guys are able to do. And you'll be just producing higher quality comic books for a good long time before the technology is truly able to compete. But I do think that, look, it's on the horizon in terms of, is it 10 years? Don't know, shorter. But before it gets there, I think using it as a really beneficial tool to help, like,
wait, no, Oz, don't do that yet. Don't do that yet. Can you access the fisheye lens?
The fisheye lens? Or I think there's an option to do fisheye lens on the camera, but I'll need to
do it. Do a fisheye lens and then bring it up closer to where the action is.
Okay. That'll probably be a render feature, though. It's tricky. I'll need to, because I'm not using one of the render cameras. I'm using my own personal movement camera. Wait, do I have the? Yeah, let me. Give me a sec.
Nathan, you've appeared.
I'm googling it. I'm googling it right now for you.
So guys, I'm going to need to try and close up in maybe about 35 minutes or so. And so I want to get to the super chat. So we'll start wrapping up now. Anyone is free to duck out at this point in the discussion before we jump to the super chats. You're more than welcome to stay, of course. But you're,
Can I pimp my campaign just super quick, if you don't mind?
Yes, absolutely.
I have it on my screen already if you want.
Okay.
And so Aaron Lopresti has his own graphic novel available on Indiegogo.
Drawn by hand.
Hand-drawn. Premium hand-drawn art. It's a dying craft, people.
That's
you
right.
need to get hold of these hand-drawn pieces right now.
That's right. Get it before they're gone. This is just quickly. This is kind of a Batman of the Old West. Who's a monster hunter. He has a female companion, sort of acts as his Alfred, and they travel around and they fight monsters. In this particular comic, it's vampires. I have a great Simon Bisley cover option, along with 3 other cover options that you can choose from, or you can get all of them, which I highly recommend, of course. And this book is going to be, there's the wraparound cover version right there that I did color using a computer. I admit it. And there's the old Tales of Suspense cover style based on 1965 Marvel Tales of Suspense books featuring the backup stories. Garbage Man and Nightclub are on the cover, but it's still the same book, but it has 3 backup stories. So you have your main Wraith of God story, which is the Western vampire thing, and then there's a Garbage Man story, which is kind of my Swamp Thing character, another super team, and then Kit Carter, who's a space babe. So it's 100 pages for $25, so it's a great value. And again,
great value.
All hand drawn. So.
Seriously, guys, check it out. Unfortunately, our page is being shadow banned on Indiegogo as well. So if you guys can share it to as many people as you think would be
That's right. You got to use the direct link to get there.
Yeah. Share the link, share the love.
And grab a copy. Absolutely, guys. It looks phenomenal. Aaron's an amazing artist. And
thank you, sir.
Yeah, looks amazing.
And look,
all right,
Aaron
so
even put himself in the comic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like I thought, I actually dressed up like that for our Halloween YouTube show, and I had the ears and everything, and I was like, it was scary how close I looked to that.
It's true. I can't
terrifying. But yeah, so no, it's good fun. There's a couple pages there from the Garbage Man backup story that once again, sort of a monster hero kind of. I seem to fall into that trap quite a bit. I enjoy good old monster books, and so this is no exception. So.
And
Awesome.
Garbage Man was once a DC character.
That's true.
Aaron got the rights back to. Hail, Yellow Flash in the chat.
That's right.
Hey, Yellow Flash, great to see you, man. So, how did you get the rights back? Was that an issue, or?
Well, when I created the character, it was Dan DiDio, who I worked with there, brought me over from Marvel and basically said that he asked me, he said, "Do you want this to be, creator owned, or do you want to be part of the MCU?" And then the DCU, and he said, or he says we can do it this way, which is it's still creator owned, but then DC would license the character basically forever for a fee of like $2,500, and then they could use it in different, if the Flash met Garbage Man or whatever. And so I said, I think that's the best way to do it, because it would get more exposure that way. But what happened was, the reason he commissioned me to create this character was because Swamp Thing was owned by Vertigo, and Vertigo and DC, although the same company, were two different entities. And Vertigo would not give Swamp Thing back to DC so they could use it in the DCU proper. So he wanted a new monster. And I created this. Well, I was about halfway through the series when he was able to get Swamp Thing back from Vertigo. So it was like suddenly this became obsolete. So they had no reason to keep it. So they just, after the 3-year period, whatever the contract period was for it, they gave it back to me. And I took all the stories I did at DC, which had Batman not prominently featured, but he was in it a little bit. I had to remove him and put my own characters in. And then I did the whole collection through Dark Horse in a Garbage Man trade paperback, which is available in this campaign and also on Amazon. And so this story kind of picks up from the end of from the trade paperback. And as I continue on with my several IPs I have which I'm publishing under Empire Comics. So, and I thought the best way to get those out there would be to use some backup stories behind Wraith of God, so people could, get some exposure to some of my other stuff. And it all ties in because it's part of a singular universe anyway. So it's not like you're reading separate stories that are not connected or anything like that. So I highly recommend it.
Oh, I love this piece. I'm telling you, Aaron, the only way this piece could have looked better is if it was inked with a brush.
You know what your problem is, Mike? You're more old-fashioned.
No, Mike, look at this. Like,
that was inked with a brush.
Are you trying to say digital art is not valid, Mike? What is?
Yeah, marker brush, marker.
Look at I'm going for a particular style.
We've been having this argument for years. So
okay, no, hang on a second. That first page to Garbage Man was inked with a brush.
Yep.
Not this one. That one was. Yeah, that's all brush. Okay, so get off my back, man.
Well, are you really on his back? If you're on the internet, go to his house and actually sit on his back.
I'm inking
right there, Aaron.
I'm inking with a pen, especially on the Wraith of God stuff, because I wanted it kind of rougher looking, like a spaghetti western, just kind of, and I wanted the line work to be a little bit rougher.
That's what crow quills are for, Aaron.
I never liked crow quills. So
okay,
anyway, guys, like we gotta go.
We gotta move on to those two for chats. I'm limited on time, unfortunately, this one. Okay. But absolutely go check out Wraith of God, guys.
Thank you very much.
Link is in the chat several times. Here it is again.
And
show myself a little bit.
Yes, Oz, show yourself.
Share my screen too, if you can, please.
You're never gonna leave.
I found the focal length thing, by the way, Mike. I found the focal length thing so I can mess with it. I am Oz. You can find me on YouTube on Team Oz, where I will be doing lots of stuff. If you guys want to see stuff like this, where I can show you how to make cool art with Blender and Stable Diffusion and make it look really super cool, then follow me. I'm into Warhammer. And later on today, I'm going to be live streaming Dark Tide playthrough. I just did a 16-hour live stream the other day playing all 3 Halo games because I really need to get my watch time up to get monetized. I'm very edgy. And look, not to brag, but I'm really funny. I know.
He actually is genuinely funny. You've seen him on Night's Watch, guys. So
check out my author swap where I make a poem about what if Edgar Allan Poe wrote Cat in the Hat. It's incredibly dark and depressing retelling of Cat in the Hat. And what was another one? What if Adolf Hitler wrote Harry Potter? And what if J.K. Rowling wrote Mein Kampf? And according to Twitter, she actually did.
Anyway, look at how much more dynamic that is.
Exactly, because of focal length. Thank you, Mike. And it's because of you, because you're an artist and you knew. So thank you for telling me I'm stealing it.
There you go.
So was this a rendering or was it? Do you just have? Nice.
It's a 3D model I can mess with. I can do whatever I want. I can pose it entirely and relight it entirely. This is what I'm talking about, guys. It's so much easier. If I can show you, I'll make this sort of stuff on my YouTube for you.
All right, tilt the forward end down a little bit.
This way?
Down the other way. Oh, and then bring the camera in towards the faces a little bit.
I'll send you the folder. I'll send you the file.
No, look at that right there.
That looks great.
So
that's epic.
Subscribe to Team Oz on YouTube. It's me.
Awesome. So
do it now.
Gentlemen, feel free to bow out now before we go to Super Chats, or feel free to join us. It's completely up to you.
I'll stay
I'm out of here. Thank you, Shad, so much. I really appreciate you having me on. It was a great and very interesting discussion we had today. I really enjoyed it. So thanks, guys.
Likewise, man. Thank you for joining us, Aaron.
Yep. Yeah, see you guys later.
We hope Graham will talk to you again.
Okay.
Alrighty, so you guys want to stick around for the supers?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna be working on Shadow the Conqueror, so I'll bring this page up after Oz is done, and you can read while people.
I'm done now. You're good to get off my screen if you want.
Alrighty. We'll head back to the regular screen, and I will bring up the super chats, and we will have fun going through these. Oh, there's a good chunk of it. You guys are legends. Thank you to everyone who's done it. So starting with the first super chat by Anime Fan for $19. Interesting that AI is the subject for this stream because I was toying with AI art last night. Background for a noble-born blind swordsman D&D character I have involves his childhood best friend becoming his personal 1 out of 3 attendant maid. Last night thought, you know what would be a fun joke with her if she was a consummate professional on the clock and a personality like a punk Latina off? What if she was a fire Gensai? So she'd be a literal fairy Latina. Played around with AI and a broad description of her and wound up with something I'd give a real artist for reference. Thank you, Anime Fan, for those 3 super chats. Yeah, man, for me, one of the great things about AI is the accessibility it's giving everyone to make their own characters and ideas and seeing what they can do with it. Like just making D&D characters. How freaking fun is that? And getting a really cool result on top of it. Like people might argue, is there something lost in people not trying to draw out their D&D characters and stuff like hand on their own? Not because they're like using the AI is a new type of skill, a new type of art form that I perceive, and so. Yeah, it's kind of like the whole thing that less farmers, more artists, less traditional artists, more digital artists, less digital artists, more AI artists. I think AI artist is going to be a legitimate thing. And the people who can make the best AI art are going to be the new professionals in the field.
I welcome our new artistic overlords. It'll be robotic.
But on the other side of the thing, I do feel that there are aspects to it that encourage you to do more hand-drawn stuff. Like me, I'm drawing stuff to give a more direct prompts to the AI so it knows what I want, and I'm drawing more than I did before as a result. So in other ways, it's encouraging.
Same.
You know?
I've set my graphics tablet back up and started using it as well. So same here.
You see, I feel this is... Look, the reality is, I guess I have a bias. I am fully on board the AI hype train. I am amazed at what it is doing. I think it is exciting. I feel like we're witnessing the creation of warp drive, and we're part of it. And we're seeing something that is going to change the world, and we're seeing the birth of something big.
I will defend the use of AI until it kills me.
I just see it as inevitable, and either you figure out how to use it and utilize it and add it to your repertoire, or there's this bird called the dodo. Hey, Nathan, you want to share my screen?
Sure.
As long as we're just chatting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have
now the
something to
dodo
watch.
actually is in the internet industry.
Is it?
Yep.
True. They're an internet provider here in Oz.
No. I don't know if that was a good idea on a name.
Yeah. So I feel it's pretty exciting and there's lots of possibilities. I do admit that there is like a scary aspect of what it is pointing towards, like the nth degree of this, like, and this is what people are projecting. And I don't know if we'll ever get there, but it's a possibility, is that AI generated stuff could get so good that you could say, generate me a blockbuster movie, best graphics, superhero fighting Thomas the Tank Engine or something like that. And it could generate a full feature film for you, create its own story, create the artwork and not artwork, but actual, like, make it look like amazing. It could be, and you could do it to follow Pixar style, traditional animation, or live action, right? And it could generate the entire film for you based on a prompt.
Couldn't be any worse than half the stuff that comes out now.
People are already using it to work with actors. They put in Scarlett Johansson. Actually, never mind. I won't finish that.
Yeah, never mind that. Never mind that. There is a aspect of this technology that is pushing its development forward a lot.
Oh yeah,
it's the part of society that usually adopts technology first.
Yep. We're not
Interestingly enough,
people thought AI would be Terminator, but no, it's Sperminator.
Dun, 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 dun.
But hey, this justifies, like, you know, the Near Automata where the androids are just these like waifu things. That's how where it comes from, people.
Yeah.
Like,
instead
future
of
sci-fi dystopian things, they're not going to look like Terminator. Well, actually, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he might.
Now it's just come with me.
That's inappropriate.
Subscribe to Team Oz. Oh man, but hey, at the same time, it's like I made a joke in my video. This has turned millions of artists into their own little John Connors. You know, they hate it. They hate the art, the AI.
So Peter for 25 HKD says, Shad, it's Peter. Please make videos that review weapons, armor, and other types of gear used by characters from Matt Bradley's Disney show Amphibia. Perhaps keep asking. I might just do it. I need to look it up. Amphibia. It's not the first time it's come up, is it? Durrant Cameron for 499 says, great news, Shad. I got the job with Disney and Amazon. I'm working on a script for a remake of Top Gun for a modern audience. Script coming soon.
That's a joke, right?
I know. Well.
Yeah.
I think he gave us some insight as what the script was going to be. And according to what he shared last time, Amazon and Disney are going to love it. Keep us informed.
Called a quality gun? It can't be Top Gun.
Dracage, this was his $50 super chat. Really appreciate you, mate. This seems to be an interesting conundrum, the pros and cons of AI art. Also, Shad, would love to hear your review of 2003 Hulk movie. Keep asking, mate. We might just get there. Thank you for the super chat, though. Durrant Cameron for $19.99 says, my new version of Top Gun will subvert audience expectations by making Tom Cruise into a crybaby who is scared of heights, but the brave transgender protagonist will save the day by cleansing him of his toxic masculinity. It sounds like Disney and Amazon will love it, sir. You'll have a long career there. Though, the movies are bombing in there, and we'll see how long the writers who write such quality material will be sticking around. Clifton 3D for €5.99 says, will you review Netflix's Medieval? Looking forward to All-Star. Keep up the great streams. Thanks, mate. We're going to absolutely keep them up. So I did a review of the trailer on Shadiversity, but because YouTube doesn't recommend the Shadiversity live streams, no one knows I did it. But I reviewed the Medieval trailer. It didn't look great, so I'm not
I watched
overly
10 minutes of it,
enthused.
Shad. I watched 10 minutes. It's awful. Everything about it sucks. You will hate it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, with that glowing recommendation, probably not going to get to it. Maybe to roast, we'll see. Ministry of Wrongthink for $4.99 says, all hail the Hey Now verse. How dare you? No. Though admittedly, I'm always open to reconsider my choices.
Is that Royce?
Yeah, is that Royce? I don't mind All Stellaris for the title. I'm playing with All Stellaris now. So who knows? Let me know what you think. All Stellaris? It has the ring. It has the meaning behind it. We'll see. Charlie Voos for $9.99 says, Shad, I sent you an email about my offer to consult on tech in All-Star. If that is useful, please reach out. If not, good luck, and I can't wait to see the finished product. Thank you, man. So we like to keep those on reference. As I said, we're not reaching out for consultants yet, but in the future, thanks for reaching out. And yeah, who knows? We might be able to take you up on that offer. Ministry for Wrongthink again says for $9.99, traditional art will survive, but probably in the same way radio TV still survive in the age of the internet. The biggest problem I see coming is it will absolutely be used to skirt copyright laws. Depends how. That. I mean, if you're copying someone's design, like someone started making character look exactly like Dalen, it depends, because they could do it in parody, but yeah, it's interesting to what is like, because I can't copyright people wearing a red jacket and blue hair with a blue sword, right?
I think they're probably thinking that the AI is actually copying people's art.
That's what they think. And there was actually a copyright case about this recently.
Really?
Yeah, one of the arguments I heard, and I think it's a really flawed argument, they say some of the AI developers are basically avoiding copyrighted songs in the AI development, and therefore that's an acknowledgement that the AI is copying things, and why isn't that standard being applied to art? And it was just a very flawed argument, because the counter to it is that, one, I actually feel that if the AI is creating something fresh from new, I think it's totally fine to get inspiration from pre-existing music. But the other thing is that there's only so many tunes that you can make with the kind of tones that we have, and it's very likely that the AI might end up producing a tune that is very similar to a pre-existing work versus an art which has almost infinite possibilities, and it's vastly less. It's almost impossible for the AI to produce an exact one-for-one copy of a pre-existing artwork. They're completely different things to consider.
Yeah.
Because, like, think about classic tunes. Those are not complex tunes. I was able to, you would know picking out where they're from just from me doing that. And as a result, the AI, it's much easier for it to accidentally make something very similar to those tunes because they're basic and they're just like, Do you have any thoughts on that, Oz, about the copyright thing?
Look, at the end of the day, fundamentally, art is just what you say. I have made this to express this, and this is the output. This is the finished thing. Whatever you use to get there, I don't care. Whether it copies someone else's work, that's again that's where it becomes an individual case by case basis. So yeah.
Well, that's also something that has happened in comics like forever. There was a guy, Roger Cruz, who was just infamous for literally tracing Joe Madureira's artwork in the 90s, and it's like Marvel still hired him.
Yep.
And see, tracing is a more kind of like it's not real, but that is copying to a level that the AI it does not do. The AI does not like trace other artwork. It constructs it from scratch. It amazes me that this art is completely brand new.
It generates a noise image, right? Which is just random pixelation, a noise pattern, and then it starts to slowly whittle that noise pattern down based on the keywords that you've put in down to a finished piece.
Which is amazing. That's like incredible technology. Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy, for $9.99 says, keep up the good work, y'all. We will, sir. We really appreciate the super chat and the encouragement. I just want to make sure I didn't skip anyone. You better... Okay, I actually skipped a whole bunch, I think. It went up to it went up to the very top. I'm like, what the heck, where are we? And it's like, that was me reading one of the most recent ones. So let me not mess around with that. Okay. Verse, a new email, traditional art. Yes. Okay. So this is from Kikoman. Good to see you, Kikoman, for $10. Show me, show you, Kikoman. Keep going. Redeem soy sauce as the Chad condiment it is. Congrats for your campaign. Best of luck and hail the Iron Age. Absolutely. Another aspect. Like, there is so much to discuss about this, but seriously, AI generated cover art is wow. Now, like for books, for people who can't afford, like, you know, I tried this. I hired a more affordable cover artist for like $200-300, and what he made was pretty garbage. It wasn't up to the standard. Okay, and so to get cover art that's actually competitive, to the main level that, you know, what you would see the best cover art to be in books and stuff, it costs thousands of dollars.
And
but
hey,
AI,
not just cover art, Shad, but there's actually quite a few voice AI tools that will copy, and it's very good. It is paid. There'll be a free version eventually. It's very good, and you can just put your work into that. Put your book into that, and it'll put it into an Audible format for you.
So it opens up accessibility for people to make their own audiobooks and cover art. I still think the professionals and best in the business will always be hired because of the premium and the name recognition and stuff. And if I can get Chris McGrath to do my covers, I will. All right. But for people who can't afford that, they can make actual cover art that is on a professional standard, and it looks insane. And so that's huge for indie publishing, guys. If you want to see how AI art can benefit indie publishing, holy crap, cover art is a huge one for novels and books. Right? I might need to do a stream just to try and generate an AI cover for Shadow of the Conqueror and see what it could produce.
Hey.
Not for the comics. Not for the comics. It'll be a novel. Don't worry, Mike.
Remember when cars were handcrafted by artisans?
Yeah, back in the day.
Then that Ford guy.
Oh,
freaking Ford.
Back when the paint was lead.
This is the thing, right? Because I understand artists being a little bit defensive that, you know, they feel they could be replaced. I feel that's a very natural response. I actually think there's a different perspective that they could use it to benefit and be even more successful in their artistic endeavors and finding work and stuff if they embrace it. So I have that. But the other side to this is that there are so many people that can't afford the artists who are working professionally. And they're saying, what about, you know, me losing my job? But I do think, what about the thousands, and there's vastly more people who would like to hire professional artists, but don't have the money to, and AI gives them an opportunity to produce high quality work.
A lot of just terrible comics on the market.
Yep. And the best ones will come to the top.
I think that's true, because the other reality is there could be some of those comics that are amazingly well written from a very talented writer who didn't have the money.
All over again.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, right? Like, there are great writers out there who don't have the money to hire great artists to make their comic books. And as a result, they probably have a lot of trouble competing. But if they could actually find a way to produce really high quality art, you know, that they weren't able to afford otherwise, it opens up the accessibility for creation for the whole world. And personally, I am 100% on board with that. I think that is amazing. But look, I have the perspective that I don't think artists will go out of business either. I think the traditional artists will always have a job because they're pretty awesome.
Well, I will, because I'll just move into NFTs.
Yeah.
But
adapt or die, as Mike says.
I can just Control C that NFT, and now I've got it. Belongs to me now.
We're not going on to that debate. We're moving on from that can of worms. All right, back to the super chats. Okay, so Mystery of Wrong Thing, traditional art will survive. Did this jump to the heading?
Yeah, the next one was because you just did the Kikoman one, didn't you?
Yes, I think. Yes,
Talking Pop Press.
Hey, Talking Pop Press, great to see you, mate. Check out his novel, Barbarians of the Storm, people. Oz, where have you been? Hello, Shad. Hello, Nathan. Don't listen to the loud minority about All Star. It's the name of my go-to combo meal at Waffles House. Anyway, here's
That is a
you had
review.
me there, sir. You had me there. You had me for a little bit there. And then Talking Pop Press for another $10 says, as someone that's been using AI art a lot, for my own promo material, it is super helpful. Thanks for the prompt advice, Oz. There we go. You're helping people out already, Oz.
Hey, if you want to see a comic book made in Stable Diffusion, I'll send one to you now, Shad. This is what someone's put on Reddit.
Really? Okay, I'll have a look
check this out.
Is it AI?
It is AI, yeah.
All right, but we do need to get through the super chats. I'll have to check that on my own time, but I'm genuinely interested. Yeah. Okay, so Jeff Potts for $10 says, type in Lone Star being handcuffed by Wraith of God.
Who's Lone
Don't
Star?
know what that's
Lone
Mike's
Star.
comic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know
Who's
what
Mike?
that will
Not
produce.
kidding.
Jeff Potts is he's a thorn in my side. Great author though. Go get his book.
Wale Imuna for 5 BRL. I think the stream would improve by about 97.3% if the examples used were anime waifus instead of Superman.
Well, luckily, that 97.3% of all the images generated are waifus. So,
yes. Okay. A Sour Cream Citizen, $5 says, Midjourney, which is another AI generation program, limits words like blood and gore. Does Stable Diffusion have those same kind of restrictive words? I don't believe it has any restrictions on words.
Yeah. There's no restriction on Stable Diffusion. There's an option to turn it on, but it doesn't have any on its own. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, careful. Look, the abstract Cthulhu-like horrors that you can end up accidentally making. You've been warned. Okay?
Yeah, if your prompt skills, I'm like a wizard. Okay, I'm like Harry Potter, swish and flick. Okay, I say the words eloquently. Okay, like a wizard does in the Harry Potter universe, and I generate pure beauty. I'm like sculpting.
Sure, you do, Oz. You're good, but playing it up a bit. Play it up just a tad thing.
Shad, how many? The prompt that I sent you, I'm pretty sure the prompt that I sent you is what went into most of your.
Yes, I'm using a lot of the original prompts, like masterpiece, everything you gave me. I fully admit you are the wizard in this, but it takes work. You're not like it's just magic.
Would you like to see some, sir?
And maybe another time. We got to get through the super chats.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so. Phil Moore for $5 says, AI streamers will replace real humans. Your favorite AI streams 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah, they'll have like VTubers, but reading off of AI inputted text, and it'll integrate. It's getting there. Like the AI conversation programs, right, already exist. That'll respond, and like we saw what the Google one was doing. And so if they just have a voice generator and then marry that to a one of
Alexa.
those VTuber things,
Via
the technology,
Alexa, right?
The technology is already there. So, AI waifus for lonely people. That's where it's gonna go.
Literally like Blade Runner, Joy. Blade Runner 2049.
Yes, yeah,
like same thing.
It's actually not that far away.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I'll have a harem of hologram ladies, and my real wife. I'm playing Minecraft. Ignore the milk bucket.
Really? You always have to go there, don't you? Well, you can go to his channel for that now.
Go to my channel, T-Boz.
Damn it, I lost my spot. It's Ministry of Wrong Thing. Okay, we're back. So Midjourney, ALLSTREAM's Real Humans. Yes. Nicholas Cruiser for 20 US says, Oz, yo, when are you doing a graphic novel? Also, love all you fellows' work. Fun. Graphic novels are too scarce as of late. We're working on that. And I'm glad we're getting so many people trying to create new art. Yes!
Yeah. To answer your thing, I don't know about a novel, but most of the things I've been generating are pretty graphic. Soon enough, guys. Soon enough.
Phil Moore for $5 says, I will be a better artist than all of you put together. All right, do it, mate. I believe in you. Thanks for the super chat. MR Spider 236 for $10 says, I think the thing with AI art is that a lot of the skill and work needed to make the final good image good will eventually be updated out. Probably. And guess what? I'm not going to complain. I would be happy to not have to work for 4 to 6 hours to get that final polished, perfect result. It's a satisfying process because it gives such a good result, but it's not fun. It is like, you know, finicky, grindy work where you have to constantly work and all those things and stuff. And so if it could save me the grind to get the finished result as equivalently good, bring it on. I'm happy with that. No complaints. Okay. And it's not there yet, though. So there is satisfaction in and skill needed. I don't know when we'll get there, but if it does, no complaints. But you're right. Next one is Great, I think, Father for $10 says, I'm going to skip the first part. I find it highly offensive, sir. But then he's something about All-Star. I'll just leave it there. What can I say? Well, your stubbornness has won me over. Okay. But then why are you doing the song with it? Why?
Hey now.
Shut up. Shut up. Your stubbornness won me over. Well done, sir. Also, don't forget to check out 2003 Hulk movie with Eric Bana. We're getting lots of recommendations for it. Keep asking. Sentinel Rex for $5 says, if you could plug a wire into your brain to generate an image, your imagined image you imagined, would you use it? This is for the precursor to that. This is a precursor to that. So that's a whole nother thing about, like, would you be comfortable having cybernetic implants put in your body? I'm kind of the camp that I'm not comfortable with that. Like,
same.
I'm just like, yeah. Don't really like that.
I don't even like putting contacts in.
Yeah. So perhaps not. That would be a no for me. Like I like cybernetic prosthetics for people who have lost limbs and stuff like that to restore eyesight and everything. Hey, brilliant. Go to town. But even if they could make better robotic eyes, I would not want to lose my natural eyes for them. I think I'd be losing something there. That's the whole, is it the humanist? I don't know. There's a whole discussion about that. Drive-by commenter for $10 says, to use a music analogy, Shad, the hip-hop producer Ninth Wonder said in regards to sampling, you're better off knowing music theory, chord progression to get the best results. It's the same with drawing. I can see that.
Yeah. I agree.
Ryak, Lord of Blasphemy for $9.99 says, keep up the good work, y'all. We will, mate. Thank you very much for the donation super chat. Morindia for $10 says, this reminds me of a story I heard about computer playing chess. Some programmers created a program that beat the best human chess player in the world. Not surprising, but then they went further. You know, there are still chess players in the world.
Do you hear about the one that they taught to play Snake? They taught a computer to play Snake and to never lose, and it got to the point where it literally, the next thing it would do would lose. That was unavoidable. So the computer paused the game and never started playing it again.
Hey, can't lose if you don't play. Can't lose if you don't play.
The computer was a poor loser.
But still, that's terrifying.
He took his ball and went home.
They didn't program that.
Well, let's hope we never make an AI that says protect humanity.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah,
because what it will do, it must protect humanity from itself. It's the whole. It's heaps of science.
First thing it'll do is it'll kill Oz. That's what it'll do.
Morin Deer for $10 says, they held a tournament where computers faced off against humans working with computers. In the end, the best performers were all human-computer pairs, which they called centaurs. Interesting.
Oh,
I think that's
cyborgs.
I think that's. I hope I didn't cover. Skip over any. That's all the current ones, and I'll.
I think there's two more that have come through since then.
All right, I'll refresh and grab those. Yep, Anime Fan 3794 says, like Oz, I feel like despite trying since I was young, my artistic talent caps out at mediocre. So I'd be all for AI D&D character art. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Look, again, this is a thing. It's like people trying to. It's like I know this one guy who says he follows the Stephen King rule on writing, which is oh, you can get better if you just keep writing. Just keep writing. It's like, no, learn how to write. There's books out there. When my kids were little, I started giving them books on drawing, and it's don't reinvent the wheel. Learn structure, learn form, learn rhythm, learn these things from the masters. And you may never get as good as me, obviously, but you can still get a lot better than you are if you're learning correctly, not just drawing.
You can learn, or you can learn to prompt.
Benjamin Davison
isn't the same.
Well, actually, like for me, I'm actually more satisfied by the AI art than my sketches because it's just so.
But I'll tell you what, Shad, if you could sketch as well as that AI art, you would feel even better.
Yeah. Tell you what, I haven't got good at drawing. 2D I suck, but I'm getting really good at miniature painting. I'm getting decent at that. The 3D helps.
Benjamin Davison for $5 says, you guys should check out the Tales of Echilion. It's criminal how unnoticed it's gone. Okay, check that out, guys. Tales of Echilion or Echilion. I might try and check that out as well. And I think that has brought us up to date, except we have a new one. I think this one's by Phil Moore. For $10, my 2 cents, take with a grain of salt. Eventually, AI will replace all jobs. People will be put on UBI, which is Universal Basic Income. With everyone able to do anything via AI, you'll be a UBI slave with no way to elevate yourself.
Yeah, but if we've got infinite resources and infinite service, like the service resource, then why do we need to elevate ourselves? We have everything we need.
I personally feel everyone should try and maintain. Yeah, I think everyone should try and maintain a level of self-sufficiency and relying on pre-existing processes and stuff like that. Like I want to, develop a farmstead and do, make just for security's sake, because if you rely on technology too much, as soon as that power goes out, you're going to be running into an apocalypse. So you don't want to be too reliant. Technology is wonderful, but you don't want to let it overtake too. That's why I think there'll always be artists just for the satisfaction of saying I can do it myself. And there will be that satisfaction, as Mike mentioned. And I think you actually raised an interesting point. I'd have to think about it. Would I be more satisfied as I would draw as good as the AI? Possibly, but it would take years to do. And I don't want to develop all that thing to develop that talent where I could put all that time into improving my writing.
I could literally compare this to something, but I think it would be better served on Oz's channel.
Oh, really?
Oh. Yeah, do it yourself. I was thinking the same thing, but I chose not to say anything, okay?
Mark's Monif 117B for $2 says, have you seen the Few and Cursed comic? Thumbs up. I have not seen it. But thank you for the super chat. And we are up to date on the super chats, and I actually need to get going because I need to look after children. My wife needs to duck out. This has been so much fun, man. I friggin' loved this discussion. Like, genuinely, I would love to do more, talk about it. But the ALLSTREAM isn't going to be hijacked by AI stuff. We're going to do just things that are trending, topical. A lot of it, the ALLSTREAM is always going to be focused around kind of indie creator sphere stuff, as well as what's happening in social pop culture spheres and stuff. And yeah,
I did want to point out next Thursday is Thanksgiving in America.
Oh, okay.
So if you guys want to do the Oz ALLSTREAM,
if you can't make it, we understand that. I'll figure something out.
And after this, I'll be doing Dark Tide. So come join me on Team Oz. If
there you go. Go subscribe to Team Oz. You can check out Mike on Blacklist Universe, and we'll have more updates for Shadow the Conqueror. Because, like I said, I put in 14 hours on getting the final compositions and templates. Anyway, I'll probably update that on another stream. Lots to update about, but I do got to get going. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This has been a heck of a lot of fun. Really appreciate all the guests as well. Hope to see you next time. And as always, stay on watch.